presenters for fair districts. We're gonna, we have a few things to do before we get to fair districts, but I just wanted to make sure, so for everyone from fair districts, if you can turn your mics on and just make sure we can hear you so we can do a little sound check for you. Okay. Okay, say more than a word. What's your name?
Hello, Bonnie Hallam.
Awesome, we can hear you. Harold?
Harold Floyd.
Great. Jean?
Jeannie Mann.
Okay, and then do we have Nancy Prindle? And am I pronouncing her name correctly?
You are. I doubt she'll be here, but
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so for the presenters, you can mute yourselves and turn your video off. You'll still be able to listen, but then that way it'll make the chiclets a little bigger to not have so many chiclets. And then I'll call you guys in. Okay, thank you. All right, cool. It's 7 o'clock, so we are ready. I actually used the hammer thing. Okay, awesome. Thank you everyone for coming to the Upper Darby Township Council Committee meeting for July 1st, 2020. At this point in time, Councilwoman Billups, can you please take the roll of the attendees?
Yes, thank you, Council President Wentz. Councilman Tunis,
Here.
Councilwoman Michelle Billups is here. Councilman Silva,
Present.
Councilwoman Blackwell,
Present.
Councilman Gwen,
Present.
Councilman Burke,
Present.
Councilman Siddiq,
Yes.
Councilwoman Faralia,
Here.
Councilman Barnett,
Present.
Councilman Wagner,
Here.
and Council President Wentz.
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Okay, great. And just to let the residents know who are watching, who else is here, we have Superintendent Bernhardt, we have Mayor Keffer, we have CAO Rangione, we have Alexis, our municipal clerk, who's diligently taking notes to get ready for our minutes. We have Upper Darby Township, Allison Dobbins, who helps to make all the magic happen. And then we also have presenters from fair districts that I will announce before they speak. So thank you all for being here. So following our agenda did get a little adjusted from what had gone out to the public. I have some things to say, and then we'll have Mayor Keffer, and then we'll have CAO Rangione, and then we'll have Superintendent of Police Timothy Bernhardt before we get into the committee reports. So I just want to give a slight brief of what's to come. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we made some adjustments to our council committees. There are now 4 members to every committee. There are co-chairs for every committee. All the committees are diverse, and they by gender and by race. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I did notice that we made a mistake on the agenda. Councilwoman Danielle Blackwell is on the Finance Committee, Finance and Appropriations Committee instead of Councilwoman Michelle Billups. So that's a mistake I caught, but just wanted to let you know. So just a general announcement for all council members, for district council members. At this point in time, if you haven't been previously, I need all of you to track any issues that take place in your district, whether it's a request for a stop sign, no parking, any types of requests that you get. I need you to track them, okay? I know Councilwoman Blackwell has a awesome Excel spreadsheet, so that might be a way that you want to do it. If you're an at-large council person, I ask that if someone comes to you with an issue that involves anything along those lines, that you CC the district council person in reference to it. So for instance, I had a neighbor come to me and ask me about a stop sign that used to be there. I CC'd Councilwoman Blackwell when I sent in the request to Alexis. So make sure the district council person knows exactly what's going on because they need to track what's happening in their districts, okay? And then I want to just give an update. We've had a lot of committees have been meeting. They will continue to meet. Ones that haven't will meet in the near future. The event planning and public safety committees both met separately, but they were dealing with similar issues, talking about Black Lives Matter, our police force, discussions on use of force policy, and things that we can do to improve things in our community. Leisure Services Committee had, and everyone's going to give you an update on this, but I'm just doing a rough overview. Leisure Services Committee, they actually went on some tours of a couple parks, and they have a lot of great recommendations for those parks. Law and Government will be working on fair districts. We're having a presentation today on fair districts. And then we will, and there are other things that will probably come their way in the near future. The Finance Committee had an executive session earlier this evening to discuss a tax assessment that Councilman Quinn will bring forward. And then we also, the Zoning, Planning and Building Codes Committee will be discussing a group home ordinance, which we'll hear more about in the near future. We also did have an informational executive session on the Upper Darby Zoning Board for council. We have a lot of new council members, and so we just got a little crash course from our solicitors in reference to zoning board and how council relates to zoning board. So that was very informational, so thank you very much for that information. Public Health Committee has been and will continue to be working on some issues that have been brought to them by council members and residents. Some of the issues are the dog ordinance, a TNR for cats ordinance, questions about being able to keep chickens, and one-use plastic that has come our way. So those are things that they will be working on in the future. Residents and young organizers and community groups have been meeting, and they've been talking, basically asking us as elected officials to hear them, to hear what they're saying to us about what's happening in our community and ways in which we can improve things. So many of our committees have been, we've been listening, and we've been moving, and I know the administration and the mayor has as well, and that everyone's moving forward with improvements, things that we can do to improve our community. So I'd like to thank everyone for working on those issues. We're all working at it on them from different angles, but the ultimate goal is the same: to improve quality of life for everyone, regardless of where they live in our township. And the reality is, as I told one of the young organizers, is that we are going to need your help. We all would love to, and I've talked to Superintendent Bernhardt about this, and he said, we'd love to diversify our police force, but the only way we can do that is if those of diversity actually apply to take and make it through the test for becoming a police officer, makes it through the academy and everything. So the only way we can really diversify our police force is for people of diversity to apply. So please apply when that time comes. We will make sure you know about it. And I would also like to thank a resident, Dolores Lombardi, for her suggestion from the previous month about possibly closing sections of streets so that our local businesses could have a more useful space for, whether it's for restaurants. We have been talking about it. I have talked to CAO Rangione and the mayor about it on different ways to find ways for our businesses to succeed. So I just wanted to let Dolores Lombardi know that we are discussing it to find ways that we could help our small businesses to reboot the business that they've lost over COVID-19. And then also I just wanted to thank Upper Darby Pride for requesting the LGBTQ+ IA ? flag to be flown. including the brown and black colors above the township building. And so thank you to Mayor Keffer and CAO Rangione for making that happen. And that's all that I have. So thank you. So next up, we have Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer. Go for it. You got to unmute yourself. Barbara Ann, you need to unmute yourself.
I did.
There you go. Okay, there you are. Awesome.
I have to just pull up my teleprompter now. So I wanted to thank our staff and sanitation who've been working hard and steadily through this COVID era as essential workers, and now will be allowed to take their much earned vacations. We've hired and have been training seasonal help over the last couple of weeks, and I'm happy to say that twice a week trash collection will begin on Monday, July 6th. Also on Monday, we will be rolling out our new code enforcement ticketing system. Primarily, our inspectors will be making sure that everyone is containing their trash in trash cans, that grass, shrubs, and trees are at acceptable heights and not infringing on public right-of-ways like sidewalks and alleys. We want to make sure that houses have visible numbers from the street and from the alleyways if that's if they have alleyways. And we want to make sure that all the mattresses that are set out for collection are wrapped in plastic. The Public Works Department, in conjunction with L&I, will begin also on Monday our Focus Zone program. And I'd like to thank Public Works Director Joe Martin, L&I Director Chris McSween, and our engineer Mike Galante for creating the Township Focus Zone map, whereby each of the 15 zones will receive the full attention of employees from both departments. And they'll be looking out for things such as bleached out street signs, storm inlets, property maintenance violations, lines that need to be repainted, etc. And they will be addressed in a systematic, organized, accountable way. Working with our friends at the Share Food program, our free food distribution will continue until further notice. Pickup will continue to be on the schedule that we've had on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 11:30 a.m. at the Township Building and 12:30 p.m. at the 69th Street Recreation Area. And I would just be reiterating, Council President Laura, what you had said about the pride flag. And I'd also, like to mention that last month we did fly for the first time the Juneteenth flag on top of the Township Building, which is just great. 27 bids came in by the deadline a few days ago for the community center feasibility study. I would like to build a community center at 7,000 Walnut Street, which is currently the home of the Welcome Center and the Homebound Meals Program. And we will have more details of how the process will proceed in the next few weeks. The county has announced their Delco Strong 2 grant program for small businesses and nonprofits. So that's a first. The nonprofits are included in this grant program. Please go to delcostrong.delcopa.org for more details. And here in Upper Darby Township, as we await HUD approval for our small business program, if you are a local small business owner, please email business@upperdarby.org to get on our email list for updates on the program. The governor just today signed an expanded mask wearing order stating that masks are mandatory in all public spaces. And I know this may seem like an inconvenience, but I think what we've been doing in terms of social distancing and mask wearing over the last few months has had an impact on mitigating the spread of the virus. And I hope you'll continue to wear masks. And we have to realize that the virus isn't going away. So we all know what's going on nationwide, and we've been doing a good job here. And I just encourage everyone to keep doing that. And over the last few weeks, our administration has been in a lot of meetings regarding public safety issues, including police training and police policies. And now I'm going to hand it off to CAO Vince Rongione to discuss this further.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Keffer, council members. Thank you, solicitor. Thank you. And thank you to our guests and the public as well. I really just have a brief introduction here for Superintendent Bernhardt, and then we will be available for questions. As was noted a little bit in this meeting by Council President Wentz and the mayor, we've all been working very diligently together to try to move the community forward and work with activists and stakeholders to better understand our current policies. It was a great thing for the township that the superintendent and the mayor stepped up together to sign the Obama Foundation Mayor's Pledge to have us evaluate all of our policing policies and really take a number of proactive steps to move us all forward. So I think those are important things that we all should feel very good about in Upper Darby Township, to have a situation where we are working together with the community and the government, the superintendent and the mayor and myself and many members of council have attended different public events. And I believe that Councilman Tunis very eloquently pointed out at one of those events that that everyone is against police brutality, and it's not about anyone against the police, it's about everyone against police brutality. And I thought that was a very poignant and important comment. So in the spirit of trying to be responsive to all of the council's questions and inquiries and all of the public interest in this topic, I've asked Superintendent Bernhardt to attend the meeting and make himself available to give some background and some information and also be available to answer some questions. I know that the Public Safety Committee is a little bit further down on the agenda, but if it's all right with Council President Wentz, I would also ask that if folks on that committee have questions for the superintendent, that they would ask them now so that he wouldn't have to wait for that committee. I guess would that be okay, Council President?
Yes, so basically our new rule is anytime Superintendent Bernhardt is available, wherever we are in whatever meeting it is, gets put on hold, and then we focus on him and the things he needs for us to know and whatever questions we have for him so that he can move on to, other business that he has to take care of. So yes, of course.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for that. So with that, in the spirit of cooperation and transparency and information sharing, I would like to turn it over to Superintendent of Police Timothy Bernhardt.
Excuse me, CAO Rongione, can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't mean to interrupt at all, and President Wentz, just real quick. Just so council understands and the public understands, the mayor asked me early on, going back, a month ago, as to what is the relationship the administration has to police supervision as opposed to council. Also being very concerned that at least at this point, council is only meeting once a month. So feedback from the Public Safety Committee could only happen formally at that point in time. So after looking at the charter and our administrative code, it's very clear that although council's input is definitely needed to the Public Safety Committee, it's the purview of the administration to supervise the police department and work with Superintendent Bernhardt in putting together orders and policies to effectuate the change in the times. So I just wanted to be clear with that, CEO Rangione, just so everyone understood upfront why the mayor and you have been being, and Superintendent Bernhardt have been so forceful and progressive in recent weeks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that clarification. Absolutely, very important.
Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you for having me.
Good evening.
I guess more for the questions I'll be answering, but for our use of force, like CAO Rangione said and Mayor Keffer had said, we've been meeting weekly now, talking about the changes that we're going to make, reviewing our policies, like we had said earlier about the Obama Foundation, the pledge that we took, and trying to move this department forward in positive ways. Listening to the community is key to doing this. And the mayor and myself and CEO Rangione have been reviewing our policies. The biggest one was the use of force. And the question that kept coming up was chokeholds. And I explained to the mayor and the CEO that we have never had chokeholds in our use of force policy. I wanted to make everyone clear of that. It has never been in our use of force. The use of force that Upper Darby Township has had in place has been since about 94, 95. It was updated again in 2006, and it has been reviewed and being updated as I have taken over as superintendent of police in 2020. That is a program that was put in place then. The system that we use, our use of force, is PSS. The acronym is Protective Safety Systems. It's the gold standard in use of force for law enforcement. We are one of the only that use this around in the area. The program was designed by a retired United States Secret Service. He was the assistant special agent in charge, and it was what was used for the Secret Service. And we adopted that, and we've been using it ever since. So that's the Reader's Digest version of our use of force. I'm not sure what questions that anybody has, but I would answer them.
Okay, any council members have questions for Superintendent Bernhardt? I know we've had questions before. Councilman Gwynn and Councilman Silva. So Councilman Gwynn, go first.
Sorry, took me a second to get through this. I had a situation that had occurred in my district relative to one of my constituents was shot and killed. And I'd like to know, from a council person's perspective, we want to make sure that we're on top of things that happen in our area. Sometimes we don't get that information about events that have occurred. And I'd like to see if there's a way to A, improve that, and B, to make sure that we are not going to muddy up the waters as your people have to go through and do what they have to do to meet people and talk with the people in the area to get information necessary to secure the neighborhood and protection of the remaining people in that neighborhood. So if guidance can be given, I would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely, Councilman Gwynn. So yes, you are correct in stating that on June 14th, we did have a shooting in the area of Gulf Road where an individual's life was taken. Now, the investigation is ongoing. It's fluid. Detectives are working it. As the mayor and I and CEO Rangione have been meeting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be supplying them with updates monthly, weekly, then monthly on the incidents that are taking place throughout the township with the police department. And I will pass that on to them. We do utilize our social media to alert residents when there's something going on, any type of incident that would be going on in town, whether it be a major incident or an accident or weather related. So we always ask people to check in and monitor or tag our social media so they can get those alerts and those updates as far as things that are going on in the township. Individually, I will speak with the mayor and CEO Rangione as far as how we're going to move forward and how we notify, when we notify the incidents in particular districts. But yeah, absolutely, that can be a a conversation to be had, and anything we can do to fast track that or to speed that along absolutely can be something that we can look into.
Well, and for all intents of purpose, hold on, Danielle. For all intents of purposes, you can, I mean, as council president, letting me know so that I can then disperse the information to the district council person helps to reduce you having to reach out to a specific council person. Also, I would want to notify the at-large council members as well, but we also want to make sure that it's not in a way that we infringe on what you're doing, but we also want council members to be able to go and check in on their constituents to make sure there isn't anything that we could help on the sidelines that had nothing to do with your investigation. So it's a matter of finding a way for us to coexist in this equation and help each and you know, just be able to reach out to our constituents at the same time. So, so just abstract. Okay. So then I saw Councilman Silva had a question, and then Councilwoman Blackwell. Go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Yes, thank you. Director Bernhardt, I'm looking over this Protective Systems, Safety Systems Incorporation website here. This looks more like almost like a martial art of sorts, or is this basically what is this a policy, or is this more of a like a form of application, or
we have a policy in place for use of force. It's very in-depth policy. The use of force model, that paradigm, if you're looking at it, it flows as the use of force is used. So anytime there's a use of force used or any type of situation, it kind of walks up the paradigm of force that can be used in any situation. And then that force there has to be documented. It's a very in-depth use of force model that we have, a very in-depth policy. The training is very intense. I'm not really sure what it is that you're looking at, but it's not martial arts related, if that was your question.
Can we get a copy of your use of force policy?
So yes, the use of force policy, I can give to the mayor and the CAO. It's because of copyright and licensing. The actual use of force model, the paradigm, the diagram, the chart that we use is restricted in that sense.
Is that the one that was in where we had the Citizens Police Academy in the training room?
So yes, correct. Anyone that has gone through the Citizens Police Academy, we put that up there on the board for everyone to see. The color code, it was the square box, if you remember.
Okay. Okay, so that's basically what you're referring to, or is there a policy?
So yes, that model there is what is copyrighted, and the license agreement with the company that we utilize for our training.
Okay, gotcha. Sadiq and Michelle, I see your hands. Councilwoman or Councilman Silva, did you have any other questions?
no? So that continuum, that basically that diagram that Officer Vaughn like showed us during the academy there, that is then the policy.
So no, that diagram is not the policy. We have a very in-depth policy regarding the use of force, when it can be used, the purposes, the definitions, the amount of use of force, non-lethal force, deadly force, all the force resistance levels are mentioned in our policy, lethal weapons, discharging of firearms, anything that we use in our use of force is documented within that policy. And then that model is just to break it down to like a cooperative subject, a non-cooperative, a moving resistor, a non-moving resistor. If you remember from the academy, that's what that diagram does. The policy explains the entire use of force from A to Z. The purpose, the definitions, the use of force reporting, duty assignments, all the attachments, all the forms that have to be completed when any type of use of force is used. That's what the policy consists of.
So as council members, we can't get a copy of that policy, or is it that it's not specific to Upper Darby, that someone else's policy that we're borrowing?
So no, it is our policy, yes. So the Upper Darby Township policy for use of force can be given to council.
Okay, great.
Parts of that use of force policy that refer back to this company for
Got it.
copyright purposes and licensing, we can't. And that diagram is one of those aspects in
Right.
the use of force policy.
Okay, we understand that. We just want to see the Upper Darby policy.
Yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, Councilman Silver, did you have
Thank you.
anything else? You good?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Councilwoman Blackwell?
Sure, thank you. Hi, Council. Superintendent Bernhardt, thank you for all that you have done and all that you do. We do appreciate you. As Councilwoman Blackwell, I want you to know that I do support you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. As far as the June 14th event, you don't have to elaborate, but I'm just curious whether or not the gender and race will be included in the report and if that will be a public record.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I follow you. As far as what report, Jace, race and gender?
The June 14th, the event with the shooting that happened.
The 14th, you're talking about the incident on Golf Road?
Yes.
So as far as what, the report that was done by the police department?
Yes.
Yes, all the information will be included in that report.
Okay.
I mean, it's an ongoing murder investigation, so it's very, very detailed.
Okay. And so what I'm wondering is, as what Councilwoman Wentz has stated, that as a matter of coexistence comfort, for the people in our district, perhaps it hasn't been done, perhaps it's not protocol. So I'm wondering, it's good if we know, for example, I know that I had one of my constituents whose son was involved with a murder. And I personally went to her and I talked with her, and sometimes that just makes it better. I know it's different because we're living in a time whereas we don't perhaps have the human nature or the support that is necessary, but it would be good as me and my council, if anything happened in my area, that I can go and comfort any of my constituents, to show up at their door to show them that I care. I would like to know. I'm just saying for the record, but it's no comment needed on that. I'm just saying what I would feel or would prefer. Also, regarding the, there's supposed to be an event that's going to be happening tomorrow at the police station. And my co-chair, Brian Burke, is going to participate. I am not going to participate, but I do support the police. But I just want to say that that's what it is. So,
Okay, well, we thank you for your support. We appreciate that.
okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councilman Siddiq and Hafiz. Sorry, Councilman Tunis, I see your hands, but it's Councilman Siddiq's turn.
Yes,
Sure.
Mr. Bernhardt, thank you so much for the effort you are doing for our Upper Darby Township. I have some different question to you. Is the talking going on is a long time regarding the diversity of our police force in Upper Darby? Since you are the new police chief, are you taking any step to diverse our police force?
So yes, Mayor Keffer and CAO Ron June and I are meeting about that. I met with Civil Service the other day, the Chair Alex Brown, and myself and CAO Ron June and Alex Brown started that conversation on how to go about starting to diversify the police department for the entry-level exam, things that we're going to do. So it's an ongoing conversation. We're going to continue to meet before we announce anything for the hiring of police officers.
Do you have any tentative day, officer, for new hiring?
We do not have a date yet. No, it's we just met this week and we're going to meet again. So the conversation just started. So we have to narrow down some dates and time, how we're going to advertise, how we're going to seek diversity from within our community and other areas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilwoman Phillips, please go ahead.
Thank you. Superintendent Bernhardt, thank you for being here tonight. And I just want to let you know that I also support you and respect you and the police force. So thank you.
Thank you very
for all
much. We
that you do.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. So I just have a question. You said, 'cause I didn't hear you. You said something about gold standard and Secret Service, and then you said some initials. Can you repeat those initials again?
For sure, I am just saying that our use of force policy, it's the gold standard. It's the best of the best when it comes
Right.
to other departments and the use of force. And the system that we use was developed by a retired Secret Service agent. And he was the one that developed this program for the United States Secret Service. That was how I referenced that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Okay, I see Lisa and I see Don Bennett. Next up is Councilman Silva. Oh, sorry, not Silva, sorry, Tunis, sorry, my bad. Go ahead, Councilman.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Barnhart. As you know, prior to the recent events, you and I have worked on a couple things in my district, and it's always been a great service and it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. You as well.
I have a couple questions. So, State Rep Mike Zabel, as well as State Rep Margot Davidson, as well as Senator Tim Kearney, they voted in some House bills, House Bill 1841, which creates a statewide database to track police disciplinary actions. There's also House Bill 1910, which enhances police training and requires PTSD evaluations. I was just curious to know if there's been any communication from the state or how, if when the state does pass things like this, how is the training implemented and how does that all that work within the police department?
So if and when those bills were to be passed, they would be shared with us. We would review them and see what part of those bills had to be implemented within the police department. And within the Upper Darby Township Police Department, we have a training and professional standards division that is responsible for all the updates and all the training and certifications for the officers. So that's how that would be done.
Okay, and I know these are fairly new bills that have been passed, but has there been any communication from the state?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, just any communication from the state.
As of right now, no, there hasn't been any communication about what the content is in those bills or if and when they're going to get passed.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so next up, we have Councilwoman Faralia. I muted you, so you're gonna need to turn your mic on. There you go, girl.
I got it. I just wanted to say that I'm unable to attend tomorrow to the rally, but you do have my full support to the police department. I appreciate you, all the men and women in blue, and all our EMS out there. You're truly heroes.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, great. And then next up is Councilman Bonnet. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Wentz. Superintendent Bernhardt, again, I want to echo Councilwoman Feralia's comments. I support the police. I am 100% supporter of the police. I want to thank you for your prompt attention to a request for action on traffic enforcement on Township line. It's become out of control. The speed limit has been violated. I have gotten a number of complaints from members of my community in the 1st District that live near there. And I do appreciate your acting on that as quickly as you did. And I know you're working on a potential plan in cooperation with the state police as well as has been done in the past. I cannot attend tomorrow night, but I don't want that to be interpreted as a failure of support. I am, again, very much a supporter of our police department. You've always been there for the constituents of the 1st District and the township at large, and you have been quick to respond as you have taken over the reins of the police department, quick to respond to any requests that have been made for police attention in the 1st District. I personally have another commitment with a family, actually a family commitment tomorrow evening, which I cannot change Otherwise, I would have, in fact, would attend. I wish that this is a good example tomorrow night of how much community support will be for our police department. So thank you again.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Councilman Wagner, I think you're the only person who hasn't weighed in. I wasn't sure if you had anything you wanted to say. You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
If I can figure out how to unmute myself, yeah, I would. Thank you. I'm not going to repeat it all. I just want to echo the expressions of support that you have received from this entire council, Mr. Bernhardt, and you've been very responsive to me personally when I've needed anything. So thank you very much, and Godspeed to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great, thank you. Yes, just to reiterate, there is no doubt, I believe in any way, that this Township Council supports you as Superintendent Bernhardt, as well as our police force as a whole, let alone our fire department and our, and everyone that works for our township, like Councilman SCU. I know that, I know I'm not going to be able to make it to the event tomorrow. I know many council members, we can't make it to every event, as our mayor has pointed out, but that doesn't change our support for the department. So just wanted to say thank you. And I know Councilman Silva has raised his hand. Go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Thank you again. Yes, Director Bernhardt, I'm sorry. And I'm just wanted to quickly reference our previous correspondence we had with the Public Safety Committee and you. And I was wondering if, I'm sure you're very busy, but I was wondering, you were discussing, you had said to Councilman Burke that you were working on establishing a committee board to represent our community. I was wondering if there was any ground made on that, or if there's any way we could help with that project.
So any help is appreciated. I'll take any help I can get from council and from the residents. We had a meeting with the Bywood Civic Association, and at that time, there were some individuals that expressed helping. I've reached out to two of those individuals and started a conversation. The mayor and I, again, and the CAO, Ron Gione, have had that conversation, and it's a work in progress between the three of us and the community members. So we will be updating that. I will be doing that with the mayor and the CAO.
Great, because I believe, so I know that council committees are working on a similar thing. So it would probably be more efficient if we all work together on it, so that we're not working on two separate groups to do the exact same thing. So yeah, we were working on putting a list together of different community groups and how to establish a board of some kind. So Mayor Keffer, if you can bring us in on the conversation in the future, we would love to be a part of it. So.
Yeah, I think yeah, we definitely should have a committee or commission board, and we'll all be talking together. I don't want to do things in like a reactive.
Mm-hmm.
We have these, we have a lot of community support for or against rather brutality. So we can't just establish commission in reaction to that. We'll be taking our time, and it's something that's going to happen, and we will get input from council and more specifically the Public Safety Committee going forward. But we're not announcing anything like that. We would already be talking about that announcement if it was going to happen. So.
Right, no, I just wanted to let you know that council is very much interested in helping in that process.
Yep, looking forward to working together. Yeah, we're going to do it together. So.
Awesome. And then also Superintendent Bernhardt, another thing that did come up in one of the community meetings was block captains. And I understand CAO Rangione had indicated that, it does take some funding for that. We're just wondering, we do have a lot of interest, a lot of people who are actually acting as unofficial block captains, but if we can get some, even if we did virtual trainings for it so that it's less expensive. And so for instance, virtual is the way we seem to be going lately. that would be really excellent. So just wanted to let you know that that's also one of the things that the events committee and public safety committee have been talking about regularly in the meetings they've been having. So.
Okay.
I understand we can only do it through you. So I'm officially saying, please help us make this happen.
And I can only do it through the mayor. So I will absolutely will discuss things with the mayor and the CAO, and we will all have that conversation and get everything figured out. I promise.
Fabulous. You rock, man. Great. And then I think I saw Councilman Gwynn, and I wasn't sure if I saw Councilman Tunis. Councilman Tunis. Okay, so Councilman Gwynn, go ahead.
I also wanted to point out that we have a neighborhood watch groups that are interested in participating. And there are other groups and as well as other things to be considered. I know I have to talk with Vince over some things that were left behind in terms of the flashing lights for Beverly Hills Middle School on Garrett Road, and some other issues for Owen Avenue in terms of policing it and trying. There was some accidents that occurred there, and we're trying to work on traffic calming situations for that street. So just wanted to get those items in too.
Great.
Thank you.
And then Councilman Tunis.
Yes, I just had a quick question, a little bit off course, but I'm not sure if this is more of the administration or Superintendent Barnhart. I've had many concerns from residents within my district regarding four-wheelers and dirt bikes being driven on through alleyways where many kids do play, or through neighborhoods. I just want to know, is there an official policy that the township has, or is there a course of action that the police are instructed to take when these violations are committed? I guess the best thing would be, what is the residents' course of action to do when they see these things?
So as far as the police department goes, here's what I would ask, if we could get the word out, and we will put it on our social media, but any of your constituents in your district, anytime they see them parked, anytime they're stationary, anytime they're behind a house or they're resting, we ask that you call. That way we can come and run the tags and run the VINs. We will not try to chase or stop those individuals when they're on those quads or their dirt bikes. It's just too dangerous. So we like to see when they're parked, or at nighttime, we have officers going around, look for them parked in the neighborhoods. And if they're not registered, not insured, we can get them towed. So if you do see them anywhere, if you see a specific location where they're congregating, or a house or a garage where you see that they're at a lot, we'd ask that you call, or maybe put through our social media or our tip line. That way the officers can go out and inspect them when they're in those areas.
And Councilman Siddiq. Go ahead. You got to unmute yourself.
I have a question to our police superintendent and also public safety, especially summertime. The bike, regular bicycle, some people, they're putting the motor and they're making horrible sound, and they're running in the street in a Marshall Road, in a big road when so many cars, and it is very dangerous. There's anything we can do about it? The regular bike, how they're putting the motor and driving like a 50 mile, 40 mile, which is like a regular brakes. It's very dangerous. I think we should think about it, our public safety, and with coordination of police department.
Absolutely. And we're starting to see more and more of that throughout the township with the bicycles and all the motorized vehicles that are out there, the different type of scooters. So again, it kind of goes with the ATVs and the dirt bikes out there. We can cite them through the vehicle code. And if we can get them when they're not going at an excessive speed, we would take them if they weren't properly registered and licensed, if they weren't supposed to be on the roadway. And you are correct, they are dangerous. And we just ask people, if they're going to utilize them and ride them, that they do them in a safe fashion.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, of course, just wanted to ask the classic summertime question about fireworks. And I like to thank our mayor for her numerous Delco alerts and announcements about how fireworks are illegal within Upper Darby Township. Yet they go off every night. One thing I noticed that there's a good chance that people firing the fireworks also have scanners, because it's really easy to have scanners these days and may know when the officers are coming their way. Is there anything, what should we do? How do we help?
Well, again, we ask nowadays with the social media, you utilize our Twitter and our Facebook, and in any case or any emergency, anytime you need the police, 911. And what people can do when they call 911 is they can say to the call taker that it's not an emergency, but hey, I want to report illegal fireworks, or I believe they're going to be used, or I just saw people with them in this area. And what we can do is we can go out and inspect and see if they are. The fireworks are very, very difficult to enforce. They're so quick to be lit off, and then people leave the area. And it's like anything else with the site. Unless you see them with it and light it off, it's hard to enforce it. But if we do, we will confiscate them, and they will be cited for the illegal use of fireworks within the township.
Okay, great, thank you.
Absolutely.
So awesome. So is there anything else? I think we're all good. So thank you so much, Superintendent Bernhardt, for coming and taking part. We greatly appreciate you and all that you do.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. Thank you, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Take care, everyone.
Yep. Bye.
All right, good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, great. So next up, we have Law Government Rules and Procedures Committee. The new co-chairs are Councilwoman Billups and Councilman Silva. Members are Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Siddiq. And so if we can have our presenters, Jeannie Mann, Harold Floyd, Bonnie Hellman, Hallam, I butchered that, sorry, Bonnie. And I don't know if Nancy was joining us or not. So, nope, Nancy's not joining us. Okay, so this is for Fair Districts PA. So if you go ahead and take it away, whoever wants to start.
Bonnie, do you want me to start, or do you? All right, I know Bonnie only has a few minutes, but I'll just kind of do a little bit, and then I'll let Bonnie do hers, and then I'll probably do a little more if that's okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Sure. So I am a member of the PA Fair Districts, and I'm here tonight to share with you why I support Fair Districts PA and why I believe that
Could you mention your name, please, ma'am?
My name?
Yes,
I'm Jeannie Mann.
for the record. Thank you.
Sure.
It's in her box.
And why I believe that our township should sign a resolution supporting this legislation as well. So the legislation has now been split into two pieces of legislation, 2 Senate bills and 2 House bills. The one set of bills are for our congressional districts. So that would be for changing the way our congressional districts are redistricted. So for instance, we have Representative Scanlon is ours, she's in District 5. So that's who I'm talking about right now. That is not part of our Constitution. So that legislation just needed to pass the House and then the Senate, and then it would become law. So I don't know if you remember, about 2 years ago, there was a lawsuit with Pennsylvania because our districts were so gerrymandered that they had to redraw the districts. Our previous district was the standard for the worst drawn district in the entire country. It was named Goofy Kicking Donald. It actually spread across 5 different counties. So counties and townships were so divided that it makes it very difficult for representatives to really properly be able to know their constituents, to know the type of county that they're representing. And so that's the other, there's that legislation. And then the other legislation has to do with our state redistricting. So that would be the redistricting of the state legislators for our state senators and our state representatives. And I believe Pennsylvania is in the top 5 for the worst redistricting, most gerrymandered for our state representatives as well. And every 10 years when we do the census, that's when the redistricting occurs. The state legislator redistricting is part of the Pennsylvania Constitution. So it needed to pass 2 separate sessions. So it had to pass this year and it had to pass in the 2021 with a new congressional district, new members, and then it would also have to be voted on by the Pennsylvania residents. Unfortunately, they're done their session for now, and it is very, very unlikely that this legislation will pass, which means that after the census is done, we will have the same type of redistricting that happened back in 2011, 2012, because it always happens after the census. So it's our legislators who are doing the redistricting. And so they have a stake in it, right? Like they want to make sure they draw lines so that they can separate townships so that they will never lose. They can divide them up. And it causes a lot of problems, which I'm going to let Bonnie share. One of the problems that it causes, besides people actually losing their vote, people really, it's like their voice isn't even heard because it doesn't matter how they vote when districts are so gerrymandered. And I'll let Bonnie explain more and then I'll do a little more after that.
Thank you, Jean. Good evening, everyone. This is Bonnie Hallam. I live at 4719 Woodland Avenue, Drexel Hill, PA. I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this discussion about a resolution in Upper Darby Township to support fair districts. As we all do, I come before you wearing many hats: parent, environmental educator, and committed community member. As part of my role as a committed community member, I sit on the Environmental Advisory Committee on Upper Darby Township. I do not come here as an official voice of that body tonight, but what I have to say is definitely connected to the work of that committee. The way that I perceive the world, everything is connected to everything else. We live in an interconnected system, and we should never think that one issue impacts only one thing. Tonight, I would like to read a brief statement by the Funders Committee for Civic Participation on how gerrymandering connects to environmental justice. Many American families face enormous environmental challenges, from securing clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, to security against the global threat of climate change. The solution to these challenges are well documented and known. What is lacking is the political will and priority to put the solutions into action. Public opinion polls regularly show that 68% of the public favors tougher government action to protect clean water, and among Americans of both parties, combating climate change is one of the top 5 issues they want government to address. Yet in many states, elected officials move forward with policies that do the opposite. Increasingly, environmental policy experts and activists have come to see that a significant source of the lack of political will is tied to weaknesses in our democracy. In particular, the systematic failure of accountability to their voters by some office holders. Exclusionary barriers to voting limit participation by those often most affected by environmental pollution. Furthermore, gerrymandering in redistricting protects incumbents with districts where lopsided partisan margins shield them from competition and enable them to respond to the desires of wealthy donors and corporate special interests rather than the broad public. To effectively move climate, energy, and environmental justice policies, we need to address these key underlying democracy issues and ensure all voices are equally represented in our political process. In 2021, the funders group have an extraordinary opportunity to fundamentally impact redistricting to make the process more open, accountable, and inclusive of community interests, all of which means that the political system will become more responsible to the overwhelming public concerns about the environment and climate. Building directly on the 2020 census, the once a decade redistricting that follows will shape communities' political representation for the decade ahead. The extent to which communities are fairly represented in Congress and in their state legislatures profoundly influences policies and resources for clean energy, economic development, infrastructure, and the environment, among other areas. I applaud the townships, this is my words, the statement is done. I applaud the township's efforts on getting everyone to complete the 2020 census, because as I said in the beginning, everything is connected. And if we want clean air and clean water, we need fair districts. And if we want fair districts, we need to count every voice in the census. Thank you. And thanks for letting me be here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Really powerful words, and I hope that you will send me what you just said, because that was awesome.
I'm happy to send that. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Jeannie, would you like to continue?
Yeah, so what I did want to say is
meeting, that's why she just left. So I was just saying that Bonnie had to go on to another meeting. That's why she just left us.
Yes. So currently how, as I was explaining how our redistricting is done, it's a 5-person redistricting commission that includes 4 elected leaders of the state house and senate, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, plus a 5th person to be chosen by those 4. However, if the 4 can't agree on their 5th member, the state constitution says the appointment shall be made by the Supreme Court. So you can see that this is really not, it should not be a partisan issue, because if our state has a Supreme Court that leans more on the Democratic side, then that's what's going to end up happening. That's going to be their 5th, and then they're going to draw the lines that are going to help them the best. They're going to, it's kind of a mathematical, and that's why it has occurred, because of the data mapping and mining that has happened over the last 20 years. So they actually use, it's a very intricate and involved system, and they can basically see the people who live where they live, and they can split them out. So even though maybe a certain neighborhood has an equal number of Democrats and Republicans, they can cut pieces of the neighborhood out. And that's why a lot of the districts have the shape that they have. So gerrymandering basically puts power in the hands of the legislative leaders and undermines the power of the people. And so the research is showing that the average voter now has a 0 chance of influencing policy. And one of the policies and biggest effects that affect Upper Darby Township specifically is school funding. So when we have a representative who is not just representing Upper Darby, but they are also representing somewhere else, and same thing for, split up like that, then they don't really get to know the township as well. So this really shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be specifically for an independent commission, and that's what these bills would have done. So it would have allowed an 11-person commission, and people could sign up to be part of this. So it would be And if you were our legislator, if you're a lobbyist, if you're a family member of someone who's in government, you would not be permitted to be part of this independent commission. So it completely takes the politics out of it. And it does it mathematically in that it keeps counties together and townships together. And in fact, I will read, our Constitution specifically says that. And yet that isn't what happens. Prior to this, when they redistrict 2 years ago and we became District 5, we were previously the District 7. District 7 represented 5 counties, Delaware County, Montgomery County, Chester County, Lancaster County, and Berks County. You know, how can one representative know all the different specifics of each of those counties? So anyway, but the Constitution specifically says that the Commonwealth shall be divided into 50 senatorial and 203 representative districts, which shall be composed of compact and contiguous territory as nearly equal in population as practicable. Each senatorial district shall elect 1 senator and each representative district 1 representative. Unless absolutely necessary, no county, city, town, borough, township, or ward shall be divided in forming either a senatorial or representative district. So that's in our Constitution, and yet that's not what has been happening over the last 20 years. Maybe since about the mid-90s is when it first became bad. So I was at a PA Fair Districts rally out in Harrisburg, and one of the senators who was the sponsor of the bill, and just to give you an idea that this bill this year had the most co-sponsors of any bill. But the leader out in Harrisburg refused to bring the bill up to the floor for a vote. And that's the bill that needs to be passed twice, and it needs to be passed twice before May of 2021. So at this point, it's not going to. And that is a directly, that is because everything is so gerrymandered, and that's why there's not the proper representation. But so 67% of the people in a poll across Pennsylvania want to have these independent districts. There have been statewide 386 governing bodies, including 24 county commissions, including Delaware County commissioners, who have passed this resolution. It's widely supported, and yet we could not get that legislation brought to the floor, even though it had 93 co-sponsors. But this one senator, no, he was a representative, I'm sorry, and he's a Republican. And that's what I'm saying, is there was an equal number. It's not that these are all Democrats or these are all Republicans. There was an equal number on each side who wanted to get this legislation passed. And he said, democracy is a fragile thing and it must be protected. Just like freedom, democracy is a fragile thing and it must be fought for and protected. And that is what we are going to do with an independent redistricting commission. There is a day coming when politicians will no longer be in the room when maps are drawn. There is a day coming when we, the people, will be in that room, and the sign on the door outside will say, "No politicians allowed." So there's a small chance that we may be able to pass this other legislation for our congressional districts, because it only needs to pass once. So if it can pass early next year, that will give them enough time. I apologize for my dog. My husband's working late, so. But if we can pass it next year, then that would give enough time to get the independent commission set. Because it all kind of flows in with the census. So that's why there is such a time crunch. So the next time for our state is going to be in 2030. We will not be able to do anything about that unless there's a lawsuit. So if the redistricting doesn't go well, there may be a lawsuit.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor Keffer wants to say something. Go ahead, Mayor.
So I just wanted to ask you, Jeannie, and the other people from their districts, what is it you would like from council? Do you have like a draft of a resolution, or because that's, council, I can't vote. I can only tell or vote in a tie, but council can pass a resolution supporting what I know you came to the council like 2 years ago, I think it was, to ask for pretty much the same thing. So do you have like a proposal or a draft resolution that council can vote on? Consider to vote.
Yes, I emailed the resolution to Laura.
Yep,
and
I shared it. I did share it with everyone. And also wanted to just clarify, Upper Darby is represented by, in the old districting for Congress, we were actually represented by 2 districts. The 7th district, which is Goofy Kicking Donald, and then the 1st district as well. So my side of town was I was in the 1st district. So they completely divided us in half within a township and a county. So just clarification of how bad it was. Yes. So yes, we do have, I did email to everyone, all the council members, the resolution. This will go to the Law Government Committee to discuss further, but because I knew that 2 years ago when you brought it to us, there was a lot of, it got mutated and changed from your original resolution. And I would really like us as council to consider your actual resolution and not actually make changes to it. But I need the Law Government Committee to meet and move that forward. And since we had so many new council members, it was really important for us to hear from you guys in this public forum so that not only educating our council members, but educating our public on why this legislation and fair districts is so important to our communities. So I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much for allowing me to do this again. And I think I also sent, in addition to the resolution, a kind of a brief about the legislation, about the 4 different pieces of legislation. So that way they can kind of see what the legislation would be doing.
Yes. I just shared your email with everybody. But we also got a lot of emails lately, so there's a chance that, that they just didn't necessarily make it to everything. So yes, definitely. Councilman Silva had something he wanted to ask. Go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Sure, Gene, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer the question, but I'm just curious if fair districts has taken into account of, I guess, like the shifting of population through incarceration. Usually incarcerated members are often moved to different districts, and I was wondering if this commission has, if you guys have looked into that issue at all or not. Like a lot of people that are incarcerated in Philadelphia then get moved to the western part of the state into less populous districts and suddenly become counted in that population as opposed to the population where they actually live or even can vote. So I was wondering if you guys have considered that at all.
Harold, do you know anything?
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of that, Councilman. I haven't heard that come up in any discussions in fair districts.
Thank you.
Well, just to piggyback on that, are they allowed to vote? I mean, because it was mentioned, are they allowed to vote here in Darby?
No, they're not. I don't believe incarcerated people are allowed to vote at all in the state of Pennsylvania during the time of their incarceration.
No,
Not incarcerated.
not during the time of incarceration, no. As
I'm
long
saying after.
as they're incarcerated. After, yeah.
So after,
Once they're,
they can't vote incarceration because they're incarcerated.
right.
So after incarceration, are felons allowed to vote?
In Pennsylvania,
Yes.
as far as I know, yeah.
And in Upper
As far as
Darby?
I know, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so in Pennsylvania. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are allowed to vote, yes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Any other council members have any questions or concerns? Councilman Bonnet? Go ahead.
Thank you, President Wentz. You know, we do have a copy of this resolution. It was handed out to us. And I think fundamentally I can support most of it. The issue with gerrymandering, I think, is sort of taking the low road in terms of the terminology in this ordinance. Let's face it, that the gerrymandering allegedly was accomplished by the Republican Party. And when you look at the last election, the gerrymandering worked very much in favor of the Democrat Party, in that the Democratic Party's candidates won most of the county and state elected positions. So I think gerrymandering very much worked in favor of one political party, that is the Democrat Party. So I think
based off one election, let's make that clear. Based off the last election.
Excuse me.
Just to make that clear.
May I finish this, please? And I think that, you know, with some amendments to this wording, I think I could very easily support this resolution as I see it, because I think it's a good resolution.
We will take that into consideration. It'll be up to the Long Government Committee on whether or not they want to make changes of it or not. So we'll go from there. It hasn't. Go ahead, Councilwoman Phillips.
I'm all for it because I like the idea of fair. First of all, I like the word fair. You can't get better than the word fair. So yeah, I'm all for it. So anything that's going to work on behalf of making sure that everyone's voice is heard and everyone vote is counted. Yes. Yes. So yeah, we can schedule a meeting where the law and government can discuss this and come up with something that's going to be beneficial for yes. Thank you.
So
and Harold. Yes.
Go ahead, Harold.
So
Yeah.
I'd just like to briefly address the shifting sands of gerrymandering, because it's easy to say different things. In 2010, the Republicans in Pennsylvania controlled all the levers of power. They had the governorship, they had the state legislature, they had the Supreme Court. Jeannie went over the processes, and the result was that very heavy gerrymandering on the congressional and state representative levels. Now, in terms of benefit to party, when it comes to the next go around, well, when it comes to the state legislature, the Democrats will have control of the Supreme Court, so they will control the state legislature apportionment. Fair Districts is nonpartisan. We don't like to see either party have dominance. We really want to go with the Citizens Commission. So it is fair to say that the sands can shift from one side to the other. We want the Independent Citizens Commission to really determine this. Fair Districts and the legislation that Jeannie described has nothing to do with county elections, with municipal elections. It has to do with the state legislature, congressional seats only. The congressional seats in 2016, it was roughly Pennsylvania, as you know, we're a purple state, so kind of shifts around. But, you know, in 2016, the Republicans voted roughly 55% on the congressional level. They won 12 out of, or 13 out of 18 seats because of the gerrymandering. Because of the court case that in which the congressional redistricting was judged unconstitutional, the districts were redrawn, as we know. And in 2018, with Democrats voting about 55% for the congressional seats, the split was much more favorable, 9-9. Now, as Jeannie also said, the state legislature was really untouched by any of this. In 2018, the Democrats voted about 55% for the state legislature, but, well, I'm talking specifically about the House of Representatives, but as we know, the House of Representatives is still in Republican hands because the gerrymandering from 2010 hasn't been touched. So, I mean, it's a pretty ugly situation, no matter how you look at it. We want to remove the ugliness and get to the Independent Citizens Commission.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I had a list running. Councilman Tunis was next. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Mr. Floyd to do what he just did, which was explain history on gerrymandering and fair districting, just because there were just some statements that weren't accurate. I wanted to make sure he was able to clarify from his position, which I felt he did.
Great, thank you. Councilman Gwynn?
Hi, I just want to say I have not received that copy of the memo, so I look forward to it and will support it upon its receipt, based upon my understanding of it now.
Okay, great. Well, I will make sure it goes out again after tonight's meeting to everybody, since I think somehow I missed the mayor, so I'll make sure she gets it too. Okay, are there any other questions from council members? No? Okay, thank you so much, Jeannie and Harold, for being here, and for Bonnie. Please, if you can send us a brief of what you said and the important, you know, outside of the thing you had given us, so that for our minutes, I want to have our minutes as accurate as possible, and the information you've given us is really important. So because it's a presentation, I'd like to get as much accurate representation of what you said as possible for our minutes. So awesome. Is there anything else you wanted us to know that you didn't already say?
Not for me. I appreciate your time.
Great.
I want to thank everyone.
Thank you.
For listening, and yeah, and I hope you'll support the resolution, and you know, we'll just keep moving forward and making sure one vote, one voice.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll support you.
Have a great day.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank Harold.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So next up is the Finance and Appropriations Committee. Co-chairs are Councilman Gwynn and Silva. Members are Councilwoman Danielle Blackwell and Councilman Brian Burke. We did have a shift upon Council Billup's request, so she's not part of the committee anymore, and Councilwoman Blackwell is. So, and so next up we have our Fearless Treasurer's report from our treasurer, David Heyman. So please come on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. It's nice to see everybody. We had a couple of very powerful forces come together to block the treasurer's report tonight. One, we had apparently a server meltdown or something, so the technology gods were not shining on us. And the other part was today is the first Wednesday of the month, happens to be the first of the month, while you know, the finance department is trying to get their reports run with. They don't need me as a thorn in their side, giving them any more pressure than they're currently under. I expect to have the information tomorrow. I've been in touch with John McMullen, very supportive, and I appreciate that of him. And I'll get the written report together, and I'll forward it to Council President Wentz I see that August falls on the first Wednesday of August falls on the 5th of the month, next month. So I'll definitely have a written report. So that's it from here. And it is nice to see everybody.
Okay, great. And so I'll probably check with you to see, depending on our timing that is available for our third Wednesday of the month, to slide you in for a small report, if possible.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be ready then. By then. Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. And then because I do know we have a bunch of ordinances, but we'll move you to the top and have you go first, and you give us a little report and move on your way.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye. All right. So next up, we have resolution number 2420. Would a solicitor like to give us a brief on this resolution?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, President Wentz. The resolution is a resolution to establish regulations for the collection of business privilege taxes, repealing all inconsistent resolutions or parts thereof, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Council, you will find that Section 9G of the ordinance authorizes, let me back up. Ordinance 2879 is Upper Darby's business privilege tax ordinance. Section 9G of the ordinance authorizes the Director of Finance to make rules and regulations consistent with this ordinance. And the Taxpayer Bill of Rights requires that the township have regulations governing the conduct of audits and assessments conducted by the finance director or his or her assigned agent, describing the rights and obligations of taxpayers during audit, assessment, and review of business privilege taxes. So, Council, I don't know if you remember, earlier this year, Council appointed eCollect as a tax collector. However, we did learn that Upper Darby did not have any regulations to basically guide the enforcement of the business privilege tax. As I shared in the whereas clauses, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the Commonwealth law requires that this is done. So as you can see, there are approximately 15 sections that cover definitions, that cover the use of federal tax information, which is available, time for filing requests, administrative review process, taxpayers' complaints enforcement, required notices, underpayment, inspection and examination, which is basically dealing with audits and the procedures for the conduct of an audit. So, so ends the reading.
Okay. One of the questions that came up before we got to this was, in the past, you guys have told us that we have to change an ordinance with an ordinance unless the original ordinance specifies that you can make changes by a resolution. So I just wanted to verify that this didn't have to be an ordinance to make these changes.
Correct. So the business privilege tax was enacted under, as I shared, Ordinance 2879 in 1998. And as I shared, Section 9G of that ordinance provides that the director is hereby authorized to make rules and regulations consistent with the provisions of the ordinance. And that's what these are. These are rules and regulations consistent with the provisions of the business privilege tax ordinance.
Okay, thank you. I know you said it, but I just didn't quite fully understand it. So thank you. Okay, Councilman Gwynn, did you have, I mean, it's your meeting, so I'll let you run your committee. Gwynn and Silva, you are the co-chairs. So do you guys have questions or concerns about this resolution?
I had minor corrections and adjustments, as I've indicated to you before, and sent an email to you and the other members of the organization for these corrections as I view them.
Did you get a chance to take a review of the responses that I provided per your?
No, I had not, as that came in while we were having the other meeting.
Okay. So there were some of the, Councilman Gwynn, some of the issues that you noted we were able to deal with. And I believe probably at the next committee meeting, we'd be able to go through them. More specifically, there were a few questions about the, specifically the interest rate that's charged. That's provided by the ordinance. And there's some other things that were minor, but I think that was the biggest point that you made.
That was one of the points. And also it referenced in here about the businesses being done in Pennsylvania, which is fine, but we're also very much interested in the businesses that are done in Upper Darby.
Correct. However, the way apportionment works, and that's under the section that Councilman Gwynn counsel is referring to, is section 7 and section 7A. The way apportionment works is that if a company has business in Upper Darby and they do not have anything else in Pennsylvania, all of their business revenue gets attributed to Upper Darby. Doesn't matter where they are going in the state, it gets attributed there. But if we limit it to Upper Darby, we actually limit our ability to collect taxes. So we want to make sure that everything that Upper Darby under the tax law is able to receive, that they're able to receive per the apportionment clause. So that's why it says Pennsylvania as opposed to just Upper Darby.
Okay, thank you for your advice on that.
Thank you. Councilman Silva? Did you have anything?
No, I didn't, but thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Blackwell or Burke, Councilman Burke, did you guys have any questions as the committee members of this committee?
Not on this resolution.
Okay. Councilwoman Blackwell, you have to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself. Or shake. Yeah, there you go.
No comments, Councilwoman.
Okay.
President.
Okay. Councilman Gwynn?
I will have to take a look at the responses that she made and make sure I understand them more thoroughly. I thank you.
Is it something that could move out of the committee to go into the next, to the third Wednesday of this month, or would you rather have a committee meeting on it beforehand?
I'd rather have one quick committee meeting as we resolve it, make sure everybody is on board with it. Go ahead.
Okay, so then you'll let us know if it's able to go onto the agenda after
Yes.
your meets. Do any other council members have any questions or concerns on this resolution for the committee to consider before they deliberate? No, you're on the committee. I'm asking you for anyone who's not on the finance committee, since the finance committee will meet to discuss it. If you had anything any questions or concerns you had on this resolution, where our solicitors could weigh in, or CAO or whoever. So Councilwoman Billups, did you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Siddiq?
No, thank you.
Okay, anyone else have anything questions or concerns? This is the time to ask. This is when we have the peeps to answer the questions. All right, not seeing any. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for this information. Hopefully after the committee meets, they will share it with Alexis and I to move forward onto the agenda. So, okay. All right. Okay, so next up we have, or I guess, Bob, did you want to check if anyone else had anything for your committee? Because I'm sorry, I didn't do that. Help, Councilwoman Billups. I didn't let you do that for your law and government. That was my bad. We'll go back. So go ahead, Councilman Gwynn.
Are you referring for the zoning?
No, you're still in finance. Did you want to check to see if anyone had anything else besides this resolution to bring to your committee?
Anybody else on the committee or council have anything to bring forward? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on.
Okay, Councilwoman Billups and Councilman Silva, I'm sorry, I didn't give you the space to ask if anyone had anything else besides fair districts to bring to law and government rules and procedures.
Does anyone from the committee have to bring to law and government and procedures?
No.
Anyone from council?
No.
That concludes our report.
So before we do, I just want to remind everyone that our solicitors did send me the group home ordinance that I will, was that under law and government or was that zoning?
It's zoning. It's zoning.
Right, that's zoning. Okay, good. I'm sorry, I started to freeze. Okay, cool.
It's okay. It's okay.
Great. Okay.
That concludes our government report. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Great. So next up, Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee. Co-chairs are Councilman Gwynn and Councilwoman Billups, and council members are Tunis and Councilman Tunis Jr. and Councilman Bonnet. Okay. Who wants to roll?
Anybody from committee have anything to bring before the body? Anybody from council have anything to bring before the body?
Nope.
The only thing that I know that we have is a zoning. Well, actually, I guess that's part of the finance committee. Where we had 3 properties
Oh, yes.
that had requested assessment, and our committee had met and reviewed those requests for reassessments, and we went to advance those to the council meeting.
Okay, so we'll add that
Agenda.
assessments to the agenda for finance. Okay.
Yes.
And then in zoning, Solicitor Kilkenny, you have an ordinance that you sent to us that just before the meeting. Do you want to?
You're talking about the group home ordinance?
Right.
Okay, yes. I sent it. Do you want me to go over it now? Or I'm confused.
A small caption, the committee will meet and talk about, but just so that people know, I mean, because I know a lot of issues came up in previous meetings. You guys worked on it. If you can just give us a little tiny brief.
Sure. Yeah, as was brought up at our last several council meetings, there was a zoning case where a group home was proposed in Upper Darby. We went ahead and had a conference call with the zoning hearing board solicitor, Mr. Peter Musso. We suggested changes based on case law from other jurisdictions and the Third Circuit for changes in our group home ordinance. Those have been reviewed by Insurance Defense Council in that we were trying to make our group home ordinance as most restrictive as possible, but be legal. So there are several changes involved in there. I'll summarize them quickly, although they're all contained in the written version of it. The distance between houses in our old ordinance was 1,000 feet. That has been struck down by the federal courts. The closest, the most restrictive condition you can have was upheld by the Ninth Circuit, which is California, at 500 feet. So that was put in the new ordinance. There is a provision under our old ordinance where it required the kind of disability to be listed and told to the township every 2 weeks if there was any kind of change in a disability. That was after talking to our office and talking to Mr. Dominicis, our Insurance Defense Counsel, that could possibly be in violation of HIPAA, so we struck that. We put in a requirement, though, that group homes be sprinklered. We also put in definitions differentiating a group home from a sober living house and improving the definition of family. I'll be happy to go over all of these at length and tell you the pros and the cons and the decision-making process our office made in conjunction with administration and bounced off Insurance Council. And I would welcome that someone from our office actually be on those calls when the committee meets to talk about it, to give the committee some more context.
Great. I will make sure that you are invited to the committee meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, since we got it so late, I didn't get a chance to get it out to the council members of the committee. So I just wanted that, we've referenced it, but I just wanted to give them a little understanding of what it was about. So thank you.
Sadiq has a question.
Yep, Councilman Sadiq.
Yeah, many residents of my district, they are having duplex. Some of the people, they are asking if they apply for the duplex, need to be applied for the variance, or is this a regular application to make a duplex? Single house converted as a duplex. That's the question to zoning board, or Mr. Kilkenny can answer the question.
So you mean a single home being turned into a duplex home?
Duplex, yeah.
So
Is a regular application or need to be variance? Like residence area, we're not allowing anymore to single home to become
A single home to a duplex is going to require a zoning application that would have to be evaluated by our zoning officer, Mr. McSween, and they likely would need zoning relief for a variance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Gwynn.
Might point out they still have to meet various other requirements too. That could be with regards to parking and how the parking is available to the people on the street and situations of that nature.
Good point. Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Barnett? Go ahead.
Thank you, President. Solicitor Kilkenny, did I understand you to say that you're changing the 1,000 feet to 500 feet as far as separation?
Yes.
So if in fact another home exists within 500 feet of a proposed location, that would be a violation? If it.
That's what the federal, so I don't understand your question. Yes, you could not put, under our other ordinance, it would have to be special exception criteria that you would have to meet to be within 500 feet of an existing group home. And the reason why we cut it from 1,000 to 500 square feet is not necessarily because we wanted to, but the 1,000 foot requirement has been struck down in the Third Circuit and almost every federal circuit. The biggest difference that we've seen that has been upheld has been the Ninth Circuit, which is California, Oregon, Washington. The Costa Mesa case upheld 500 feet as a legitimate special exception requirement for public health, welfare, and safety.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns on the group home ordinance that you will get in the near future? Nope. Okay. Councilman Gwynn, did you want to continue on your report?
Yeah, is anybody else from council have any questions to bring before the body? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on.
Great, thank you. So next up is Municipal Services Licensing and Public Works Committee. Co-chairs are Councilman Burke and Councilman Sadiq. Council members are Tunis Jr. and Wagner. Sorry, my brain is frying. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Does anybody from the committee have anything to bring forward?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I do.
Councilman Tunis, and then
I don't know if this is more for the administration or if the chairmen can find this out. Is there any way we can, if council members can know when there are like Pico's doing work or Aqua's doing work, so maybe we can notify our public either via social media or whatever methods of communication we use. For example, if there's like a closure on Avon Road, if I can get that out at 6, 7 a.m. before people are leaving out to work and they can see it before they get out the door, that could be helpful. I'm just not sure if we have the means to do that. That's kind of my question.
Um, Bob, are you answering the question?
Yeah.
Or, well, the mayor really should answer the question.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Hello.
Mayor. Go ahead, Barbara.
So we're trying to refine the way that we are communicating with council and with the community. And thank you, Councilman Tunis, for what you just said, because I'm not sure why there's a gap, but we will work on it. CAO Vince Rangioni, you could probably take over from here, but everybody should know what's going on. Pico and PennDOT and Aqua do post things on their individual websites about where work is going on, but we could do a better job of getting that out to our residents. So.
Yeah, I think the mayor's right. That sometimes at this point, sometimes we have that information and sometimes we don't. But in either case, we do need to work on both ends with Pico and Aqua, especially to make sure that we have it in a timely way, and also to make sure that we have a system for communicating it more effectively. Because if we were able to get it to council more quickly, you might be able to reach more residents in your district or your neighborhood. So, I mean, I realize that's not a perfectly satisfying answer, but it is something that we're working on and know that we need to improve as we try to coordinate with them better. I mean, we're really trying to integrate not only our road closures, but our paving and everything to be more efficient with Pico and Aqua, because everybody loves to have newly paved streets and new infrastructure, but of course the process of getting those things is inconvenient. So we do want to improve in that area.
Great, thank you. And if it's just a matter of sending me an email and I share it with people, I'm happy to do that as well, if that helps in that aspect.
Thank you.
Definitely, and we'll
thank you.
Our township page and everything, and I tag council members who've got pages to make sure we get it out as far as we can. So definitely. Councilman Siddiq, you're next.
I really would like to seeking our mayor and Mr. Vince Rangioni's help regarding the Wood Church Lane and Marshall Road. It's been many years I am asking for that project need to be done. If our mayor can get it in, and then we can get some state funded project, that one, so we can do that one. And our mayor know about that section, the old Marshall Road, old Church Lane and Marshall Road intersection.
Oh, okay, because I was kind of focusing on Powell Lane and Market Street.
Yes, that one in my agenda too. That's I was trying to I have a plan to bring that one in public safety, which is very important, because every week I have conversation with that woman. 4 members of the family is officially blind, so we need to really do something. It's almost going to be 1 year, that project.
No, yeah. So I was thinking about including that in the action plan for the CDBG or Community Development Block Grant. That was my top priority in the 6th district. So you're saying, what is it?
Old Marshall and Charles Lane. I'm tired of seeing all this dumping bed sheet, mattress.
Church Lane. Oh, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, we're working on that. We're going to get cameras there, and that's through the capital budget. And no, we are going that is in progress.
Yes,
thank you. Market is like, that's a big project. That's very costly. That's very important, and that we're.
And also, we township use that next to that one, there is a abandoned car lot. So it's very important for us to clean that project. So we township paying the money, because so many people, they're dumping the debris and the.
Can I say something really, really quick? And this is 6th district. We did have cameras installed on the one, I can't think of the street now. It's right off of Market. It begins with a W. It has that island. Wellington.
Wellington, yes.
Okay, so we had cameras installed there, and just in the last week, somebody dumped a carpet. They're on camera. They're getting a citation.
Thank you so much.
So
Yes,
we're on.
which-
So we're slowly. It's kind of like a pilot program. We're trying to figure out which cameras work best, which could be monitored more easily. Church Lane and Marshall Road is on the list, but my number one target was
Market and Powell.
Wellington Island. Yeah.
Sure. No, thank you. Thank you for your
Yeah.
support. And I know you are so busy, and we'll work together to move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's on the list. So I Marshall and Church Lane. That's on there too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So.
Thank you, Mayor, for making those areas, making that happen, because I do recall Councilman Siddiq has brought these areas up repeatedly over the years. So I greatly appreciate you making those a priority. So thank you.
You're welcome. Moving forward, we're always moving forward.
It's awesome. It's good stuff. It's all good stuff. So thank you. Councilman Gwynn, you're next.
I'm sorry.
And Councilman
No.
Silva also has his hand up. So Councilman Gwynn,
No.
did you have something, or do you want to move on?
No.
Okay, Councilman Silva. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I was actually going back to Councilman Tunis's question. And I'm not aware of how the operation works, and I'm a little curious anyway. When there is road work and utility done in advance, is there like any permit applications that's done when, Pico or Aqua prepares to do any of this kind of work, or are they not subject to that? Because if so, would that be a way of more of an advance notice of like road closures or pole replacement or something like that?
CAO Rancioni, did you want to get that one?
Yeah, so we coordinate with Pico and Aqua and get them clearance for their street work. They usually give us a date range for the work up front, and then we'll get an email as they get closer to actually beginning the work. So it's kind of a modified permit process, if you will. And that's part of the communication gap. They give us a date range, and then when they're closer, we know more specifically. So we just need to do a better job of taking that specific information when we have it and communicating it more quickly is really the bottom line.
And then they're not skating through, they're still paying for permits, like street opening permits and all that kind of stuff. They're not getting a pass on that. It's just that, we're gonna get better, but the coordination between when the actual, work is being done versus when the permit is submitted. I mean, they plan 5 years ahead,
Right.
So they submit the permits kind of early. We don't, we just have to get better at figuring out where they are doing the work and then communicating that out to everybody. So lots to do. We got a lot, and a lot of it has to do with communication. So I'm really glad that all this stuff is being brought up now.
Yeah.
In the committee meeting.
Yes, definitely. And I'm
So
glad that we
I'm
had-
sorry.
Sorry, I'm just wanting to say I'm really glad that we only had, 2 major things on the agenda so that we could talk about some of these functional things amongst ourselves. So
sure,
definitely. Councilman Silva, go ahead, continue.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So kind of gets it as a follow-up. So I guess after confirmation.
You muted yourself. You gotta unmute yourself.
No, yeah, I thought it was unmuted. Sorry. So after confirmation of a date, what's usually the window? 2 days, 3 days, out of curiosity.
I
So
think it,
personally, I'd love you to be able to tell you that I know exactly what that is, but I don't. But it's something that we should really look into. I'm not exactly sure how much notice they give us, where they're going, what they're doing, but
well, and the truth is that it really does vary tremendously from project to project, depending on how quickly they're able to finish in other areas and move on to other things. So yeah, it just varies.
Okay. Thank you. So I have Councilwoman Billups and then Councilman Burke. I mean, sorry, Gwen. Sorry.
I'll pass to Gwen. It's okay.
Okay. Councilman Gwen.
I'll share my own experience that has happened to some of my places, some of my streets. Usually when Aqua or the others do work, they do send letters out to who they view are the affected people on that street to give them notice of it. Sometimes it doesn't get to the individual councilman because they look at that individual street, and if you don't live on that street, you don't get the notice.
Correct.
That's been part of the problem. The other thing is that you guys in administration have to make sure that it's coordinated with the police and fire so that they can coordinate their routes for the emergencies that they have to deal with and plan. We can't,
Yeah,
they have to be able to get it.
That's a very good point. Police and fire are always present at those coordination meetings, and the detour routes are discussed, et cetera. So that, I mean, that is a very good point. And that is something that typically does happen.
Quite possibly when you're having that meeting of situations with them, you can, through Laura or the individual council people, provide them notice of what's coming up in the immediate future so that we can plan to do that. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Just me, Laura.
Go for it then.
Okay, I have a couple questions for Vince and the mayor. I know it's been rough the last couple weeks with the computer system. Where are we at with the computer system that's down? And I do understand that we still have our men and women that are furloughed. Doesn't help that our computer system has been giving us some problems lately and can't bring them all back because we can't put them all on the computer system. And
those are unrelated.
Okay. Wasn't sure if that was an issue. And then if we can get a report over the next 2 or 3 months of vehicles, trucks, and the buildings where we stand, for Public Works Committee to see, maybe future spending or what's going to cost us to help us through the finance for the budget next year. How old are our vehicles, trash trucks, the L&I cars, just future to take a look at, not tomorrow, next couple months, just to help us with the budget. Do we foresee our men and women going back? I know the L&I guys just went back last week or this week, I think. I don't know how many other people are still furloughed, so.
Yeah, absolutely. The so I guess that in a couple parts there, we have already begun the process of formulating a draft 2021 budget. It's very preliminary, and we're working with the department heads to try to put that together based on projections of revenue from this year, and what we certainly hope will be stronger revenue projections for next year. If hopefully we can come out of this pandemic and avoid any similar sort of hazard to our potential revenue. So that process has begun, and obviously council will be heavily involved as it moves forward. So I think it's good to know that process is already beginning and the department heads are involved. In terms of the vehicles, absolutely. One of the initial things that we did in January that took a little bit of a slowdown when the pandemic hit is a comprehensive vehicle audit. So we do have that list, and we are in the process of evaluating our vehicle fleet and how we can sort of modernize it and make it more efficient. One of the things that we're doing is a much more stricter tracking of parts and maintenance inventory so that we know with more specificity how much we're spending on each individual vehicle, whether that's an L&I inspector car or a sanitation truck, or frankly, even a fire vehicle. That tracking is part of the comprehensive vehicle audit. In terms of sanitation vehicles specifically, we had a meeting with the TWU folks in January, and one of the things they expressed was the dilapidated and old condition of our sanitation vehicles, and we assured them at the time that we were going to try to put in place a program to modernize and make new our sanitation fleet. And so just in the last 2 weeks, Joe Martin and I have had a number of meetings with different sanitation vehicle vendors and have gotten a number of proposals, and we feel we'll be able to significantly accelerate the rate at which we acquire new sanitation vehicles. We actually have some sanitation vehicles that are 1991s. So, I mean, God bless them. You know, some of those trucks still run, but thankfully our vehicle maintenance crew is able to keep them out there on the road. But again, we don't know exactly how much we're spending on each truck and things like that. So that tracking is very important. It's going to take a while. You know, sanitation vehicles are expensive. Yeah, Mayor, please.
So I was just going to say that in general, just before this meeting started, I got an email from the training director from the Pennsylvania Municipal League because I reached out to them. We are new members of the Pennsylvania Municipal League, which is a great thing. And they want to provide us some training, obviously be online, as to budgeting. And we want everybody on council and anybody else, you know, department heads to partake in it. So I haven't read, I don't know the specifics, but I reached out to them. I said, this is something we really could use, and they're on board with it. So it's not maybe a direct answer to your question, Councilman Burke, but we are looking, we want to create a township government that where there's a safety net, where people are trained, where they know what they're doing, and we're all on the same page. You know, we all have the same information, and we can get more if we want. You want extra training, we'll try and get it for you. That's all I have to say about that. And this is a big year. We have 3 contracts with the TWU, police and fire. We have, this will be the first year that this new council works on a budget, and we have a lot of new department heads. They have to create their budgets as well. So, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to it, but it's daunting and it's a lot of work, but I think it's going to be good.
Thank you. Councilman Burke, did you have anything else?
No, I think they answered my question. So,
Great.
thank you for the answers, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
And Mayor, thank you very much. We definitely would love to have the municipal training on the budget and any other trainings they can provide in the future. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, so then I think I had everyone who was listed. So Brian, did you want to continue with your,
No, I'm good, President Wentz.
all right, so does anyone else have, Matt, did you have something for?
Yeah, I sure do. Actually, just talking about the fleet maintenance there. So wait, is it my understanding that they had not up till this point tracked expenses per vehicle, and now we are adopting doing that?
Correct.
Okay. And just out of curiosity too, are we tracking per usage also? Because it's like commonly, especially when you have a lot of like, I've in some of my professions done some work with departments of public works, and it's a lot of times I'll have like a really old vehicle that's used like, you know, once a month or something. It could come up on a report like a real, you know, like a great vehicle that never needs repair, but it's only used on Sundays or when something else is broke or what have you. I was just wondering if you work that in your tracking as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the tracking system improves, we add more and more metrics, and it's definitely an issue. I mean, even with the main sanitation vehicles that get used, 5 days a week, it's a certain type of usage, right? They're only traveling the township, maybe going to the transfer station. So in some sense, it's very low mileage, but it's high impact use. It's stop and start. It's a lot of idling. So there's a couple different. It's not traditional tracking metrics the way you would think about, your car or something, as you know. So yeah, we do try to take those things into account.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have anything for this committee? Okay, seeing none. All right, great, then we're good to move forward. Councilman Gwynn and Councilman Siddiq, you guys cool with moving forward?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, next up, we have Public Health and Environment Affairs Committee. Co-chairs Councilman Silva and Tunis Jr., as well as council members Billups and Councilman Siddiq. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Council President. As should be coming up later this month, we're going to continue to work on our B ordinance. I'm still waiting to get a little more input from some output or some groups that are helping us like craft the final language. But for the most part, I think that ordinance is ready to move forward. We're also we'll be meeting shortly to review a potential a couple other issues. So does anyone on our committee have anything else to add at this time? Okay.
Councilman Siddiq.
I really would like to talk about the Astra Food in my district, the meat factory.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
It is nice to have in my district, and so many people are employed. And the owner, I know him also personally. He's a good man, very good man. Recently, especially happened on summertime. Recently, some people complain about the smell, the meat factory. So I was thinking that if we, the Public Health Committee, get together one time and meet with the owner and talk with him, whatever he can do for the smell, especially summertime. But
neighbors, that would be good.
I am proud that is in our district. Hold on 1 second. I'm proud that this is in our township, especially in my district, and it is there employing a lot of people, and especially elderly people. It's a blessing for our community. I appreciate him very much for the run this Astra Food, which is meat factory, but only little concern about the smell on summertime. I think we can do something, or our mayor can give me some advice what we should do.
Mayor?
The thing I would say is this is a great opportunity, Councilman Siddiq, for you to connect with the neighbors of Astra Foods on Glencoe, Chestnut, and Powell and all that. So when you have the meeting, if I were you, I would invite them as well, so that they, so that the owners of Astra Foods can hear the concerns that the direct neighbors have. That's all I would say. And I would love to be at that meeting too, actually.
Yes, I need you to that meeting
Yes, let's go.
because,
And some neighbors.
yes, sure.
Some neighbors, yeah.
We're going to set up, we're going to talk with the people and we'll talk with the Astra Food, set up the time and date. I'll let you know.
Well, Councilman Sadiq, we can
Can
definitely.
you let me know?
Yep, well, we can do a virtual meeting, a virtual town
Yeah,
hall.
I'm talking about mayor, including all the committee person I have. Matt Silva, Hafiz, me, and Michelle.
Okay,
All
great.
of us.
Okay,
We all-
because I think we might want, I mean, this will be a question for the mayor, if Chris McSween should be there too. Don't know, but I just wasn't sure. Something to think about. But we can, you know, let me know and we can set up a virtual meeting for it. So,
Sure, I'll work on that.
okay. And if you need help reaching neighbors, let us know. We'll help with that as well.
Sure, no problem. I'm going to first work with my committee and then I'll work with everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's best too, because I know there were other concerns in that area as well, like some with the sewage, and I think it also may stem from the plant. So I think that is, yeah, the best course, instead of like trying to set that up here, because that may reach into public works or you know, the sewer department, or it could be a little more involved.
Right.
Yes. And also in same area that, you know, as many of our council members should know that one, and our mayor know very well, that the next to that one, Fairmont Park Commission, and they don't want to do anything over there, cutting the grass and all these things. So we have to keep call them, nobody answer us, especially me as a small councilman. Oh my God, they never call me back. So people are there tired over there due to Fairmont Park Commission. I think we have to have, as a township, better communication with the Fairmont Park Commission in future. And our mayor, she know about it, and she many times she help over there clean up that jungle and walkway.
Okay. Yeah, I've driven past there numerous times and I've seen a lot of bad stuff. So yes, I agree.
Matt was there with his chainsaw a couple times.
Because,
Yes, I remember.
Because of the Fairmont Park Commission don't do nothing, and I have to hear think the old councilmen don't do anything. It's not in my hand. It's a Fairmont Park Commission.
Maybe we need a cleanup there. Maybe
We actually need them to give us the property, so we take care of it. But
That's the thing. Let's get that one to our.
That's a good idea, Mayor.
We'll get Sean and Courtney on it.
Yeah.
We can,
All right. Awesome.
thank you for me,
Great.
from my side. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
And
is
then
it- go ahead.
Oh,
Matt.
and I get the two of the other items that we were going to work on is looking at single plastic bag use in the township. Though I don't think that now may be the time to address that. And then and possibly like other animal ordinances. There's a couple animal ordinances we'd like to kind of update and modernize. And so we'll be looking at those in our next couple of meetings. And then does anyone else from council have anything for public health and environmental affairs?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Michelle.
Hi. So a few of my neighbors asked me about stray cats.
Yes.
So one of my neighbors said that they called the animal control in the township, and I'm not going to repeat what they said the animal control said. So they wanted to know what ordinance we have for stray cats because my neighbor was like, you know, it's so many stray cats in the area and all that, and they wanted to know if it's a policy, or do we have a policy of maybe the township or whomever taking them, getting them fixed, and then putting them back out so they won't, so reduce the population. So
Right.
what my neighbor did, bless her heart, what they did was and I know everyone is not going to do this in the township, they gathered these two cats and they took them to Devon to this woman's house that actually she takes care of cats. And the woman took them in and gave them all their shots and got them fixed and all this stuff like that. And now they're about to be adopted. So that's what my neighbor did.
Okay.
But I know everyone is not going to do that for cats. So
Okay, I got this one. So I believe it's to ordinance number 2915. It's a wild animal, but then it also does a lot of focus on cats. And it actually treats cats like they're dogs more than anything. It does not involve any TNR. So one of the ordinances, I've been actually working with TNR groups in our area to have so that we can update our wildlife ordinance and have actual wildlife be their own ordinance and cats being separate. Cats, the one I want to bring to the committee and to council and to the administration and solicitors is a TNR program. So we have a group like Helping Paws of Upper Darby, or Upper Darby for Helping Paws that traps cats in where they live in the colonies that they're in. The Spade Club is where they have a program with them where they take them to the Spade Club in Sharon Hill. They fix the animals, they give them the rabies shots, give them distemper, and so forth. And then at a low price, there's also grants that we can get that could help with that, where it doesn't cost any trappers who trap animals in a specific location. So there's a possibility of getting a grant for Upper Darby itself, and all the cats from Upper Darby can get, that are living in these colonies. Part of the problem is COVID-19 hit, right? Once COVID-19 hit, it was mama kitties were going into heat, and the clinic Spade Club shut down. And they are now reopened, but to a limited stage. And so trappers are now getting cats back into to the Spade Club. So there's two things that are going on. COVID-19 shut down the means to get the cats fixed. So there's been at least two sets of times where mama kitties got in heat and then thusly had kittens. And then the kittens got old enough that a male kitty impregnated them. So we have a huge cat population that has now just increased by thousands of cats and kittens. So a lot of the cat protective groups, I'm personally a trapper for the Spade Club as well. Everyone's gathering in as many of the kittens that you can get. You get them fixed. If it's a kitten that's young enough that you can domesticate them and get them to a home, there are adoption programs and so forth that, everyone in our area, Philadelphia, everyone's working on this thing. And so by us getting a proper TNR ordinance in place for Upper Darby, that will help make it really possible to do that, because the old ordinance treats a cat like a dog. It implies that, that cats all have to have tags if they're pre-owned. If they're not owned by anyone and they're found, then they are taken to the Upper Darby Animal Shelter, which does not exist, or the SPCA, which does not exist. And if they're not claimed in 2 days, they are killed. And so any cat activist is appalled by that in the ordinance. So that is one of the ordinances I'm hoping to get to public health to consider for that problem. So anyone in the future, Upper Darby for Paws, they're on Facebook, they have a website, they're a 501c3, they're amazing individuals that are working to rescue cats. The Spade Club does a lot as well. Spade Club also has trappers in the equation. And if we, worked with the Spade Club, it doesn't mean the township has to do the trapping. They just need to set it up so that the Spade Club can take these animals in, and all the volunteer trappers will do the trapping part and get them to the Spade Club if we're able to get a grant and so forth. Right now it costs $50 for a trapper to take a cat to the Spade Club. If they can get a grant, then it doesn't cost anything if the cat came from Upper Darby, or it costs $30 for the trapper. So it really helps us to get the animals fixed, the ones who could be domesticated, get them homes, and then taking a fixed kitty cat and putting it back into a colony, their ear has been clipped, so you know that if you trap them later, that they've already been fixed and you can release them back into the colony. Once they've been fixed, they're not as loud, they're not as aggressive, their pee is not as stinky, and all the things that residents complain about is decreased immensely, and they're not making new babies, which is another bonus in that aspect.
All right. That's good to know about the Facebook page. So
you wait, you gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
That's good to know about Upper Darby for Paws in the Facebook page. So I'll let my neighbors know about that.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. So I'm sorry. This is one of my subjects. So that's why I was right on that one. Okay, Councilman Silva.
Yeah, sorry, just to add to that. So like by taking an approach that's kind of more centered on science, and again, like our main purpose is to look at all these ordinances and try to basically come up with like a little more scientific, a little more effective solution. So spay release is certainly, or TNR is more of an effective solution, as like Councilwoman Wentz explained. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with all these animal ordinances. It's not just, that I was wanted an ARC or something. Are there any other questions from council for the Public Health or Environmental Affairs Committee?
Councilman Gwynn, you've got your hand up.
Just a quick, I think this may have already been done before, but just wanted to test it. The B ordinance that we had talked about, what's the status on that? Is just
it's had its first reading.
Okay.
And so it's going to be voted on at the next meeting. There were some questions. So the Public Health has to meet again with with solicitors Richardson, there were a couple questions that came up just as we were getting to the first reading. Some emails that came in from B supporter residents that had brought up some questions and concerns or things that the committee was wondering if they could add to it. So we just really need to meet with the solicitors to just see if things could be slightly added or adjusted, but for the most part, it was ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Will that come out to the rest of the whole council before we have the meeting so we can look at it?
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of the concerns that were brought up previously from council had been already implemented in the new ordinance. And yes, and it'll be available for council to see before the meeting when it's. And again, I'm just waiting to hear from a few different beekeeping groups at this point, but I think that the meat and potatoes of the ordinance are the way it will stand. So I'd be happy to share that with you and everyone as it is right now.
Thank you.
Well, everyone should have it, but because you got it for the first reading, so that's what went out for our last council meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. Are there any other questions or concerns for public health? Okay, Councilwoman Blackwell? You gotta unmute yourself.
This probably would go under public health and as well as public safety. So I just want to make to inform everyone that the masks are mandatory in all public spaces, effective as today by Governor Tom Wolf. Expanding on all the business safety order was signed by the Secretary of Health, Dr. Rachel Levine, in April, that requires the wearing of masks in businesses is mandatory. Okay.
Yes, thank you. The mayor did actually also include that in her speech, so thank you
I want to
for
remind everyone about that.
yes of that. No, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. Awesome. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. Leisure Services Committee, co-chairs, Councilwoman Faralia and Councilman Silva, Council members Blackwell and Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Tunis Jr. Councilwoman Faralia, go for it.
Does anybody on council have anything to bring forward? Anybody on a committee?
Do you want to give us an update on the parks that you guys went to?
Yeah, so we 2 weeks ago, Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Silva, we took a tour of 3 parks, which was Gillespie Park, Nowler's Run, and Parkview. We did put together a little report that I will have send out to everybody with some pictures of what we observed. But our biggest concern is Parkview. Right now, I think we all feel that park is a hazard and needs a lot of work. So if we could get that report sent to Joe Martin to look over, send somebody out there to see what they are able to fix before that park is even open.
Yes, I think just to note that after you guys had looked at it, a car drove through the park itself to make it even in worse condition than when you guys had saw it. I did send the information to Mayor Keffer and CAO Rangione, and I believe they've been working on that as well. So CAO Rangione, do you want to give us an update?
Yeah, that's correct. So Joe Martin has already been out to the park to begin to assess the situation, and the parks maintenance crew has already been out there to begin work, starting with the fence and beginning to address other issues. And I've been in contact with our insurance broker regarding whether we may have any monies available as a result of the vehicle damaging the park.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, that concludes our report. And if Laura, if you can send that out to everybody, I would appreciate
Lisa,
that.
I have a question for you.
Yes, Sadiq.
Lisa, hi Lisa, how are you?
I'm good, Sadiq. How are you?
Good, good. Nice to talk with you. John Mukpulan was here. It was good, but I would like to know that in District 6, it's been a couple years, 3-4 years. There's some couple small park like Aberdeen Park, and then another one is on Guilford and the Curdington Field. We're supposed to have some grant to fix those places. How far we are? And one more thing, in Curdington Field is next to my house. Last 5 years, I don't see any job being done to proper maintenance, except cutting the grass and everything. So I really want to do things as soon as the COVID-19 is over. I really want to see the things happening, those parks in District 6.
I would think also second ward playground would be on the list as well.
Yes. Second ward playground. Yes. Second
Okay.
district playground.
Mayor Keffer, you had your hand up.
I just like to say, we are looking to use the CDBG money, which is Community Development Grant block money, for what I call visible projects, like above ground projects. In the past years, they have been used to fund sewer work and nobody really sees except they have to drive around. Right? But part of that is the new community center. And when we look to see what's going on and in reference specifically to the Cardington Park, there is a project from a year or two ago in the CDBG fund that is going to repair all the sidewalks around Cardington. So it's not like totally neglected. It's just I knew in my heart that it takes a long time to do things, to get things done, like this community center, feasibility study. You have to, it just takes a long time. But Cardington is on board for the sidewalk work around it, for sure.
And one more thing, Honorable Mayor, I would like to ask you, since it's in my district, I have some friends in Pico Energy. The Pico Energy, what they do, they take a community and if I apply to, it's called re-beautification project from Pico Energy. So if I can apply with everybody's permission, they might spend some money about there, like a $10,000-$15,000 to re-beautification the park.
That would be great. Yeah.
I did talk with my friends and he want to help me. So if I can do that one, I'll do so. There is no any legal or any other issue from the township side, right?
Right.
Is that saying that you should be working with the mayor on actually
I was
going
going to
out?
ask you, yeah, we should coordinate so that we're not doing duplicate work, right? So that we're not doing the same, applying for the same grants. But yeah, we'll work together on that if you have specific things in mind.
And also the Cardington field, I would like to really have a permanent toilet over there. I know it's a big project, but this is a very overpopulated area. In this whole area, only this is the park. People coming and relaxing and recreation for this area. And I really want to do things, the permanent bathroom in this area. This is my plan. And I'm going to apply for it to our township with the public signature and all these things. So if any capital project or any state funded can do that one, we'll appreciate that one.
All right, well, we're going to be going around to visit everybody's parks in their district. So when we get to your district, we can call you and you can meet us. So what we're going to do is take the pros and cons and make recommendations.
No problem. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right.
Councilman Tunis, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to let public know I'm also a member of the Leisure Service Committee. I did not go when Chairman Silva, Councilwoman Feralia, and Councilwoman Blackwell went. I had a work obligation, but I did get a chance to go out and see those spaces. And I do agree with what was presented forward. I just wanted to notify the public.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, I did only forward the minutes to the committee members. I will be sure to forward the minutes to all of council.
Okay. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, then that concludes my report.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so next up is Public Safety Committee. Co-chairs are Councilman Burke and Councilwoman Blackwell, with members Councilman Silva and Councilman Tunis Jr. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilman Wentz. Just like to thank Superintendent Bernhardt for coming on earlier in the meeting, going over a few things. Does anybody from the committee have anything to bring up tonight?
No, submit the report.
Anybody from council?
before I go to Sadiq and Bob, I just wanted to say that, to just clarify that public safety was talking about, I mean, can you just give them a brief on, you've had a couple meetings in the last month. Can you give us a little brief on what your meetings were, like some of what you talked about in those meetings?
Well, the first meeting, we submitted the minutes, we'll send them out. And the meeting that we had the other night was basically what we talked about with Bernhardt, Superintendent Bernhardt covered in the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
We'll submit those reports to all council members.
Okay, so it wasn't anything beyond what we had already discussed with Superintendent Bernhardt, right?
Not necessarily. I mean,
great.
So,
I just want to,
Yep.
Want to make sure.
Oh, yeah, Council President, I'm sorry. Yeah, there was only, I think the only other thing that we really did discuss at that meeting yesterday was K-9 units.
Yes, that I knew there was something else. I just couldn't remember what it was. Oh, and the SWAT team, we forgot to ask them about the SWAT team.
So I guess what we talked about, I was just going to put that in our report, but since it's brought up.
Yeah, you got to do a verbal report.
Okay.
You got to report to the people.
Okay. In our committee meeting, there was some conversation about the SWAT team and, basically the special units that we have in the police department. And, with everything going on and financial things you're looking at, are we keeping our special units? Are we funding them? And what is the outlook on our SWAT unit, our K-9 units, our special units? Just an outlook on, especially with the K-9. They have, dogs get older and you have to start looking for new K-9s in the future. So basically, where are we at with that in the future for nutrition next couple of years?
And CEO Rangiani, I'm sorry we didn't ask these questions when Superintendent Bernhardt was here. I knew there was a lot to cover, so.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And obviously the superintendent is in the best position to speak on those issues, but they are things that we meet regularly about and discuss. With regard to the K-9 units, Councilman Burke is absolutely correct. We have recently had 2 K-9s that retired. And I think what the administration is working with the superintendent on is exactly the right kind of K-9 units that that are useful and effective for modern urban policing. I think there are the dogs can be used for different purposes, and the sort of larger crowd control kind of not exactly intimidation, but the larger kind of crowd control type dogs are really not really not the kind of way of the future in K-9 policing. And so I think the superintendent has a vision for modernizing the way we use those units. And I think the same could be said for the SWAT unit. The current environment is not particularly favorable for overly militarized policing or police units. And the character of Upper Darby in terms of the density of the streets and the narrowness of the streets is really not well suited to the oversized military SWAT vehicle. And SWAT training is incredibly expensive. It certainly is a point of pride and useful to the department, but it's definitely something that we're looking at because we have the ability to participate with other SWAT units, a SWAT unit in Haverford, a Southeast Delco SWAT unit, where we can provide the same level of service and force protection to the public, but without incurring tremendous cost and without having that military equipment be a part of the repertoire. So those are definitely things that we're looking at. And then in terms of specialized units that are increasingly, maybe popular is the wrong word, but I mean increasingly effective in the modern urban policing environment, like the bike unit, and units like that are more agile and more adaptable to our to our downtown area. Those are definitely the things that we want to sort of shift our focus to and our investment to.
Just one question did come up, the SWAT vehicle. It came up on whether or not that was owned by the county and then they were letting us use it, or was it owned specifically by Upper Darby?
Yeah, it's an Upper Darby vehicle. It's part of a military surplus acquisition program, essentially, and so the township acquired it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was one of the questions that came out on the clarification of who, because I know that we got a lot of stuff from the county, like the drones and stuff came from the county that we didn't necessarily own, at least from that's what they told us at the police academy. So we were just trying to.
Yeah, sure. No, and I will absolutely double check and confirm, but I believe that is Upper Darby Township property.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
So, Vince, thanks for explaining the whole SWAT and the vehicles and today's environment and all that. So it would be safe to say that public safety that I know spoke and the administration is pro K-9 for the right dog, right? Basically for drugs and bombs and for the right usage of the K-9 unit.
Correct. No, and I thank you for some reason drugs and bombs were eluding me as I was trying to describe it, but yes, that's correct.
Great, awesome.
Thank you.
So we do have Councilman Siddiq and Councilman Gwynn have questions. And Councilman Silva perhaps. So Councilman Siddiq, go ahead.
Actually, this is on the end of my district is towards 7th district. I give Mr. Hafiz number to that residence on 1 Church Lane in the intersection of Baltimore Pike and Church Lane. That area, the corner, the business organization, they have multiple business doing over there. And the most concern is they have traffic over there, and I think they do the body painting, which is not good for the resident. And they're selling the car over there, and they block whole street. The resident cannot come out.
Yeah.
So this is how I'm going to talk with Hafiz details, and I did give their number to. They think that this is my district. It is not. It is fall to Hafiz district.
Okay.
So, Mr. Hafiz, if they call, please talk with them and do things about this one.
Councilman Tunis, I think, wants to respond. Go ahead.
Yeah. Based on the description you gave me, it seems like I may have already spoken to that resident. Director McSween has been made aware, and I believe if it's the description you've given me, we can talk privately about if it's exactly accurate. They have been in communication with Director Chris McSween. So I'll just contact you privately. We can see and make sure that it's the right constituent that's being served. But from what you said, it seems as if me and that constituent had already spoke.
All right, thank you. Yeah, this is your district, so I just let you know that they approached me. So thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Councilman Gwynn and then Councilwoman Billups. And Councilman Silva, is that your hand is being lowered or it's up?
Yeah, it's up. I'm sorry. I just had a question about the previous thing with the dogs.
Okay.
I wasn't sure, but it sounded like are they considering a different type of dog than the Belgian Malinois, or is that is for the K-9 units? Or are they, is it, it's something from that conversation made me think that that was possible.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's something that will come up in the 2021 budget conversation with the superintendent. It isn't something that we've discussed specifically in terms of the type of dog, but I do think it's possible that a different type of dog, a different breed of dog, might be in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So then next up is Councilman Gwynn. Go ahead.
Yes, I had a couple things to go over. One, I can confirm that the SWAT vehicle was purchased and by using capital funds out of our budget when it was purchased and became our property. Two, Owen Avenue has had a request into the township for some time, originally under Mayor Mercosi. I see Barbara Ann. Would you like to address?
So, I mean, it's well and good to say that we got the SWAT vehicle for free.
We paid $10,000 for it.
Well, whatever we paid, we are paying $2,700 a month to house it. And everybody can see that. It's on Westchester Pike to the right of the police station, behind a hideous plastic, 10-foot fence. Anyway, so it's not like, oh, we got it for free. Doesn't cost us anything. It costs us $2,700 a month from here on out. Regarding Owen Avenue, so we have a new engineer, and he's looked at Owen Avenue because we really want to think about putting a speed hump, not bump, speed hump there. And we want to look at whether or not Owen Avenue should be like a one-way street. He does have, his name is Mike Galante, and he's been working with us for the last few months. He does have a copy of the very expensive study that was done before for Owen Avenue. And he's looking at that and also doing his own, where they check the traffic going through there. Yeah.
Let's see.
You have to also consider traffic itself is down a lot because of the COVID, but it's picking up on a consistent basis. Particularly, you can see that on Lansdowne Avenue. And some of those people are trying to escape the traffic of Lansdowne Avenue to come up Owen or drive down it. And that's part of the issue and part of the problem.
Mayor, you need to unmute yourself. She got muted.
No, yeah, so Mike Galante is looking at making Owen Avenue a street that does have a speed hump and also might be one way. And he's also taking into consideration the study that was done last year.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no, we want this to get resolved.
Do you have a timetable, or does he have a timetable when he like to approach this?
So I meet with him every week on Friday, and I will ask him that. That's the best I can do, because this is one of those things that was started before.
Yeah.
Now we have to deal with it, and COVID. It's just different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lastly, I had a question on Melbourne Fire Company. Did that contract ever get signed, or what's the status with it? Are we committed to providing them fire service, and what funds do we get back?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We are essentially committed to providing them fire service just by the nature of of fire service. And we are still continuing to bill them on a per incident basis. We have some suggested changes to the agreement that they sent over. So it's a little slower than I would like, and I apologize, but we are in the process of getting back to them and saying, hey, we appreciate that you signed this agreement. There are one or two things that we would like to change in order to finalize it. The most significant one is the term of the agreement. When we originally discussed it with council, it was a 1-year agreement, and they sent us back, I believe, a 4-year agreement. So again, a little bit slower on my end than I would like, but I just didn't feel that since council discussed a 1-year agreement and since a 4-year agreement obligates the township significantly more,
Right.
I did not want to execute that without trying to get them to change that term.
Thank you for doing that, Vince. Thank you.
Lastly, Vince, I do want
Not there yet.
I do want to go over one other thing with you. Your predecessor had tried to communicate with the state to allow us to get traffic signal for students crossing and 15-mile-an-hour speed limits on Garrett Road near where Beverly Hills Middle School is, as well as having a part of it going up toward the shopping center up there, because people tend to come down, particularly in the summertime, as they feel there aren't kids there right now. They can go 35 miles an hour. It's a problem, and the other schools all have the flashing sign of the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit when school's in session. I'd like to see us finalize that and get it going. I never got information back from what the state was supposed to do and review it to get this. It languished. I can give you copies of what was given to me in terms of the submission to the state. But if you'd like, when we can get back into the building, get it to you and see what we can get safety for the kids.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. I mean, we did submit the letter to PennDOT, as you know, and I think things have just been a little bit slower in Harrisburg. So now that we're kind of opening back up, I think the thing for us to do is to follow up with them and try to get a response, because I'm not aware of any response that we've received to our letter. But you're right, it has been a significant amount of time since we submitted that letter, so it's worth a follow-up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great, thank you. So next up is Councilwoman Billups.
Thank you. Speaking of opening back up, now that we're opening back up a little bit, chick and beer. It's been slow because of COVID-19, but I'm afraid that that area is going to pick back up again. And I know in this area, in the 6, residents have been talking about it. So I don't know what can be done about that place. So just putting it out there again. I don't know what can be done about it.
So can you give me a little more information of what goes on there?
You name it, it goes on there. So Chicken Beer is a no other name for it, but like a stop and go mom and pop beer joint, and there people can go in there and they purchase liquor, not liquor but beer, right? And sometimes the people there, they harass people that come out of the Popeyes across the street, or the Chinese store on the next to it, or the fresh grocer, or the produce junction that is right there also. And some of the residents in that area are elderly and they get harassed sometimes. So I don't know what can be done about that store. I don't know what else to call it, but that store. Okay. So, and some of the residents in some of my neighbors complain about it, and so I told them that I would bring it up again, because since it's summertime and we're opening up, even though we're slowly opening up. I've seen people there on my way to work. So, I mean, coming home from work, but yeah, I don't know what can be done.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think we definitely take a look at it and talk to Superintendent Bernhardt about it because obviously businesses have a right to operate and customers have a right to patronize, but when that behavior becomes problematic, becomes harassing, becomes dangerous, there are certainly things we can do to try to get that under control. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, Councilman Siddiq has already spoken. So before he speaks again, is there anyone else that wants to bring anything to this committee? Okay, seeing none, go ahead, Councilman Siddiq.
I have 3 things to talk. 2 of them, I think all 3 of them to Mr. Vince Rangioni. No, not much thing. One is to related to the PennDOT, the intersection of Long Lane and Church Lane. The traffic light don't have any yield sign to make a left turn on Long Lane. So we need to have a lane like a left turn only with the green arrow sign, and the other one right-hand lane could continue east northbound of Church Lane. This is very dangerous area. This is the only one Church Lane around here to connect to the airport. It's very busy street. So have to have left turn signal to the Long Lane is number 1. Number 2, the Melbourne is not too far from Upper Darby. I heard something about Melbourne Fire Department.
Siddiq, wait. Can we do one at a time because you have a lot of things?
I'm done with.
I'm sorry, do one street intersection at a time and let him respond because I think you have a lot of stuff. The other thing is I drive Long Lane, and once you get to a certain point on Long Lane, it's a one-way street. And once you hit Church Lane, from Church Lane, you can't turn onto Long Lane right there.
Yeah, you can make a left turn.
No,
yeah, but it says you can go.
From the Church Lane, make a left turn on Long Lane. Yeah, you can do that one.
There's a light.
Yeah.
There's
a light there, but there is no lane. There is no green arrow signal to make a turn on Long Lane.
There's a sign that says turn a lane, yield at green. And there's also on the opposite side for the people coming from the Marshall Road direction, it says the green light has an extended green on the opposite side. We can double check it, but as far as from what I've seen that. I drove it today. But,
yeah, I see that.
We can look into it.
I'm driving there every day, couple of times. All I need is you cannot see that one. Sometimes people don't read it. They just go with the dangerous, the opposite car can be hit each other. So I would like to make a look at this one again and take necessary action. That's all I want.
That's near my house. I know what you're talking about. This
Road.
Literally around the corner from me. I know
Yes.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Can I go my second point?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I just stop after each point and let.
Okay, let's Mr. Vince to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you, Councilman Siddiq and Council President Wentz. I think you're absolutely right. There are traffic issues in that area, and I appreciate you pointing out the specific intersections. One thing that I'm going to do that maybe I haven't done enough of in the past when dealing with PennDOT is trying to engage with Representative Davidson because I think our communication with the state agency, PennDOT is a state agency, and when we're talking about those state roads, it could be particularly effective to have the state representative from that district aid us in our communication there. So hopefully we'll be able to get answers more quickly. And honestly, Councilman Gwynn, I think that will go for the Beverly Hills school zone question as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Sadiq, go on to your next one.
Next one is the previous administration had the contract with Melbourne Fire Department. And are we honoring the same contract? Is anything changed beside the year, like a 1 year or 4 year or 10 year? Or to change this?
Talked about it.
To change the change the contract, if they're gonna cost them more and in Melbourne, that's the question.
Yeah, no, it's not going to change or cost them more exactly. We're still doing it the same way we always had done it. The idea of the contract is to have it not be done on a per incident basis, but have it be done on an annual basis so that both municipalities, so that the agreement is more fair to both municipalities and both municipalities can plan better, because the previous way their fire service was more tenuous and the cost was more variable. This way we formalized the agreement, and it just is sort of makes more sense and is easier for everyone. And Milbourne Borough has already signed the contract on their end, so they're in full agreement and understanding of the process.
Thank you.
Sure.
Did you have a third thing?
Yes. I would like to add our council at large with Michelle, that chicken and beer. I did have a couple call and I go over there a couple time and try to meet with them. Looks like a owner is there. I give my card. He say owner is not there. I give my card to call me back. They never call me back. And in the counter, the lady sitting down there, when she doing business transaction, no problem, taking money, selling this stuff. When I want to talk, give my card, they say, puppy, no English. It's very simple. So I don't know how. So let's add with Michelle. I think we're going to look at how they cannot speak English and when they're conducting the business. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yes, that's interesting. Okay. Anyone else have anything for public safety? Right, seeing none. The event planning committee co-chairs are Councilwoman Billups and Councilwoman Blackwell. Members are Councilman Tunis Jr. and Councilman Silva. Take it away.
Anyone from the committee have anything to report today?
Can you give a little brief update on what your committee has discussed? You've had some meetings between now, the last meeting and now. Can you give us a little update?
Yeah. Danielle, can you give us an update?
For the events committee?
Yes.
You can just go off the top of your head.
Yeah.
You don't have to read something.
I know that. You don't have to tell me that either.
Okay, we're in a silence. That's why I'm saying you can just.
Danielle, if you like, I have some
Go
notes from that meeting as well. If
Yeah.
if that
Go
would
ahead,
help.
Matt. You can go ahead, Matt.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we were discussing identifying community groups and leaders to kind of create a little bit of an outreach commission, something that basically we'd be able to get more of a diverse, actually be able to get more of a diverse viewpoint from like a couple different groups. I think we were kind of like on the maybe like an 11-person group, and we were and at this time I think we're going to start working on creating that commission or identifying different organizations in the township, religious leaders and whatnot, that would be good for that group. And we also want to work on making a bit of a spreadsheet of the groups that we were identifying. And that's I think a lot of what we covered at that meeting.
And you also talked about block captains.
Yeah.
That's correct. I'm sorry. Yes.
The goal of our meeting is to come away with a diverse group of a diverse group of people, so we can have that represents Upper Darby. And the goal is to present to the council and to the community what our needs are, what their needs are, and hopefully have some consensus on going off of helping Upper Darby heal and what all that looks like. So that's our goal. And we talked about that and what that looks like. And so the community can be heard. So that's our goal. And hopefully we can start working on that and look at the people in the community and start making that transition soon.
Great. Thank you.
So anyone else have anything? Anyone from council have anything to add? Yes, Councilman Sadiq.
Yeah, first I would like to know what is the job of the event planning committee, and I don't heard anything that any Asian community people is involved with your commission. So if it not, can you don't neglect the Asian community in my district?
I can answer that 100%. Nothing is set in stone because it's a committee, not a commission. I can check my files, but I don't remember receiving any letters of interest or resumes from anybody from I don't know what you mean by your committee either. I think I'm pretty inclusive and pretty open-minded. The role of the planning committee is actually going to be to review land development plans to come before the township and then get some training and then build into a commission. I'm totally open. Maybe we should set out another like, what would you call it? Like a call to arms. We're looking for people. We need more people. We need more representation. But there's only like 3 people in the committee at this point. And that's back from, what I call BC, before Corona. So it's a different world we're dealing with now. And again, I'm very excited about the community center, and I want a lot of community input in that. So we should talk about, about the public. We're going to have a public meeting. There'll be 4 or 5 of the people who are the firms that sent in requests. They responded to the request for bids, and hear what they have to say. So actually, community center is only going to be like half a block away from your masjid. I think it's going to be really great,
That will be nice. And what is the event planning committee job description? What's the job they are doing? Like,
So
Yeah.
I can answer that. I can answer that. I created the events planning committee originally when we could have physical events like the Black History Month Expo. One of the plans was to have each month in the township building or each quarter, depending on the situation, an expo with a different theme. And then COVID-19 hit, and then the township building shut down. We can't meet in person. So the events planning committee is taking issues that are important to our community as a whole that in some ways do affect other committees, but really things that, it's a way to have a group of our council members working on important issues that are just issues within our community to create some events around them. And one of the things they wanted to do is create a community group or like a commission. It's kind of similar to what the mayor and CAO have been working with Superintendent Bernhardt on these oversight for the police, where I think this is what I was referencing to. We were kind of working on two things at the same time, and that if we blend our efforts together, we might have a more cohesive team on that one. But it could just be turn into a community group to just give us information about important issues in the community and not necessarily specific to oversight on the police, but it's part of the thing of what they've been talking about. We've also within the events committee has talked about having some hosting some town hall type things where they bring in a guest speaker to speak on specific issues. So it's a brand new committee that I created for this particular year to try and get more issue-based related things happening and to have us more involved in our community, and another way for us to reach our community in a way that we've never done before.
Thank you. Good to know.
Thank you. And then Councilman Gwynn, you have a question?
This is a comment. Make sure I'm on here. Yeah. I know in the past, the previous mayor had a multicultural event and he had a parade. Obviously, with Corona, it kind of kills any attempt to plan and do things like that. But maybe we could do something of similar nature to have, if you will, some of the, like a Zoom or facsimile to go through the various restaurants of different cultures and groups and explain what they have at their menu and presentation and touch base with the type of foods that are there so that we share and develop and move as a group. Not just what we have dealt with in the past, but see how things are going in the future here. And also to see how we can blend the police and their families into what's happening. And I think people need to recognize that these guys have families at home that want to see them, and it's important to come home to them. And we have to also work with the community. They have to understand what's happening in the community. So it's something that to do.
Okay.
Just my comments.
So I'll start from your last comments. And for the first time in a really long time, I feel like the police department and the township are really working together.
Yeah.
In a good way. And yeah, I'm really happy with the job that Superintendent Bernhardt has done. He's been very, I don't know how to say it in any other different way than he's worked with myself and Vince, been very communicative. He's gone to a lot of the protests that have gone on. He took a knee right in the beginning, as did I. I mean, I'm not saying, I do want people to think in the big picture that the police department is not separate from the township, and neither is the fire department. I do believe, having been on council for 6 years, that there's three kingdoms. There's the police, there's the fire, and there's the township. In another year and a half or so, we will all be together, and that's how it should be. And I think that Tim has done a good job of just explaining what's going on, of participating where he can. And I don't see a separation from the township and the police department. I don't think it should exist. And I think that Tim's done a very good job of striking the balance, right? Tim's in the transition. He was, for those of you who don't know, he was appointed by the former mayor to take the place of Chitwood in, I think, early December. Okay. we decided that we'll see what's going on with Tim and we'll go from there. And that's what we've been doing. And the relationship has been very good. He was in the meeting earlier today. So, I don't know what to say exactly to that. And the first part of your question, now I forget what it was. What was it?
Multicultural, if we could do a multicultural event.
Oh, okay. We have a lot of good stuff going on with Live Nation, who owns the tower. We're working out things like, should we close off the unit block of Garrett Road and we are working on things. We're not just putting them out there right now. And as far as having the international festival, I think we have to wait, given what we're watching around us. But we are working on alternatives for sure. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be a whole doom and gloom, in Upper Darby this year. We already don't have fireworks. We're not scheduling any movie events, yet.
We do have fireworks.
I mean,
yeah, right.
The unofficial ones. Yes, they're all the time, all throughout the month. Vince, anytime you want to chime in here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the most exciting things that the mayor was mentioning there is the Live Nation partnership. Live Nation and the Tower Theater are enormous stakeholders in the township and on 69th Street. And they actually have been reaching out to us to find innovative ways. They've always been a part of that multicultural festival. And so we're trying to work with them on some things that we might be able to do to bring some of that spirit. And actually, Councilman Gwynn, I mean, the idea of doing it on Zoom is a very cool idea. They've come to us with some ideas for how to spread it out and possibly do it in person with the 250 person limit. So there are, we have to start looking at some of these things as opportunities, right? We can't just look at it as all of the negative aspects. Obviously, the virus is a very serious situation, but it doesn't always need to be framed in the negative. So there's an opportunity to do something interesting and innovative with Live Nation and give people the opportunity to go out and experience the diversity and the culture and 69th Street in a way that's safe for everyone. That's a cool thing that we want to explore.
Shopping tour.
Yeah.
We just can't say this is going to happen, right? We're working on things. We have to see what's going on and how we can practically do it. But we just appreciate your patience with us as we're trying to figure things out here, especially going into late summer and the fall.
Well, and also please consider utilizing us as resources to help you figure some of these things out. We'd love to help.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. So does anyone have anything else for the event planning committee?
Yes, some events weren't mentioned when I was called on to speak, which was great. We did mention the community outreach board, especially, did we? And we also mentioned the need for a free space for community groups to meet during the day. Did we mention that?
Nope, thank you.
No, I don't believe so.
I did reach out to the mayor and CAO Rangione about that potential free space for when the township building opens again. CEO Rangione had pointed out that they're revamping some of the layout of where departments are within the township, but once the township building opens again, he was going to try and find some spaces that we could offer to groups that need them.
All right, in the block captain initiative, that's directly with the police force. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And instructional videos, did we mention that?
What?
I
No,
don't believe so.
Okay, you want to elaborate more about that? The instructional videos, the help with recycling and with virtual trainings and.
Councilman Tunis was looking into that.
Yeah, I'm still in the process of looking into that. I would email the committee once I get a proper video that fits the narrative of Upper Darby. The Waste Management Company has generic videos, but in a sense of Upper Darby or something related to PA, I haven't. But I'll be sure to get that to you this week. Okay.
Thank you.
So did we miss any other agenda items for the Council Events Planning Committee?
Tom Wagner has a question.
Yeah, I see that.
Wagner.
Go ahead, Councilman Wagner. You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
I did. Thank you. Sorry about that. I want to follow up on what the mayor's comments were here just a couple of minutes ago. As she said, I too think that Superintendent Bernhardt is terrific. He's doing a great job. And from all that we heard this evening, as well as previously, it sounding like that's a pretty widely held opinion. The mayor's comments suggested to me, though, that up until now, there was some separation between the police department and the fire department on the one hand and the township on the other. I completely reject that. I think that suggestion is wrong. The police department in Upper Darby has been a highly respected department for many, many years. Its previous superintendent, I'm proud to say, was a friend to me, in addition to, I think, a friend to this township for a long time. And maybe the mayor didn't mean it. It just sounded to me like she was being critical of him or the way that department was run. If she was, I disagree with that completely. If she wasn't, then maybe I just misunderstood her. So I wanted to add that comment. Thank you.
Welcome, Mayor Keffer. Did you want to? No. If you want to turn your mic on, if not, you're good. Whatever. There you go.
I didn't mean it as a slight in that the police department was run poorly or any other way. I just, having been in the township building, seeing what the connections between the fire department and the police department and the township are, it is my personal opinion that there was 3 kingdoms, and that in the next year or two, I really want to get everybody on board together. It is totally not a criticism of how things were done, the job performance of the fire department, or it's not like that. It's just on the surface. You can understand this, I think. 3 different websites, no cohesion, 3 different people calculating the time sheets. I mean, it's little bureaucratic stuff. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it. All I'm saying is, from now on, when we have a department head meeting, Superintendent Bernhardt will be there, and so will Chief Gove. They're departments under the township. They're not separate. That's all I'm saying. And it will look like that, maybe not tomorrow, but in the next year or two, there will be a definite more cohesion as to how we communicate with each other and how we work with each other. Because all those departments, including Public Works and L&I, are all funded by taxpayer dollars. They all come under the rubric of the Township Administration, which is headed by me. That's the way it is for now. Okay, that's all I'm saying. It's not a criticism of anything that's gone on before. I just want a clarification of how things will be organized going forward.
Thank you for the clarification. And I did say I did see that separation you speak of in communications I had with both with fire department and other people where there was a distinct separation. And I do think it's excellent to bring everyone together under one roof. I know that after talking to members of the fire department, there were things that they wanted to do with the police force, but then there was a weird separation. So I think that they will be able to do a lot of cohesive activities that they naturally do out on the job that they're going to actually be able to do beyond that. So I think that's excellent. I greatly appreciate you taking the leadership, Mayor Keffer, to bring everyone in together under the administration. That will be most excellent. Councilman Silva had indicated you wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you, Council President Wentz. I'm just sorry, and it's a comment, I guess at this point must have been made quite a while ago, but Sheikh Sadiq or Councilman Sadiq suggested that we didn't have any on that group that we're trying to form through the events committee of residents, like our outreach group. It didn't have any Asian members. It currently is in construction, but I'm actually asking him and all council members as well, if there's people that they know that fit the roles that would help us to make sure that group is diverse, if they could forward them to the events committee so that we could help populate that list and then kind of get together the people that would be in that outreach group. It would be greatly appreciated. So I know, I mean, I couldn't really send that in an email because of like violate a quorum thing or whatever, but I did want to ask that of, you know, Councilman Sadiq and any other council person who could help with this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. I'll work with you.
So is there anything else for the events planning committee? Okay, seeing none. Anyone have any old business that they wish to bring up? Councilman Bonnet.
Thank you. I just, hopefully this is considered old business because it actually happened. And I just want to talk for a few moments about the Juneteenth celebration that was celebrated out at the Delaware County Veterans Memorial 2 Fridays ago. That was on the 19th, I believe. And I think it's be appropriate to recognize some people that were involved in working and setting that up. Specifically, the great job that was done, the venue that was put together in terms of the entertainment, the insightful speakers, and it was very not only entertaining, but there was a lot to be learned by listening to those who have spoke at the Juneteenth celebration. It was a nice place to have it. The venue was great, but I specifically want to recognize the various players that put it together, and I'll mention them by name. First of all, the overall group, Tailor-Made Vets, were involved. Rich Bly, Olivia Taylor, Brian Taylor, Dr. John Taylor, and as I said, the Delaware County, or excuse me, the Tailor-Made Vets. They did a fabulous job, and they deserve a lot of credit for what they did. I know several of us were there and had the opportunity to participate, at least as observers. So I want to thank them for the job well done.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else for old business? Councilman Quinn? Go ahead, you gotta unmute yourself.
Sorry, more of a question than it is a statement of things. The Drexel Line Shopping Center, I just was wondering, how do they look towards reopening and getting involved and starting to work?
You mean reopening the Drexel Line or the construction?
Drexel Line. So I'll just start. I mean, the Drexel Line developers never submitted any sort of permits or anything in the whole entire year after they reached the settlement. Okay, that was in November of 2018. They have submitted some land development plans. Since then, those plans have gone to the county and gone to our engineer for review. And I am going to toss this off to Vince after this, but I think everybody has to bear in mind, it's private land. The township does not own it. We don't have a lot to say about what happens there, but having said that, they did go before the zoning hearing board in May of 2018. And, I think we all know what happened from there. I don't know, Vince, do you want to add to anything I said? We're in negotiations with them. It's private land. We cannot tell them what to do with it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think in terms of the sort of short-term kind of COVID-related reopening issues, obviously the anchor tenant, the supermarket is an essential business and has been operating, and some of the other essential businesses have been sort of slogging through the thing, and everyone else is slowly getting back to normal with the rest of us. In terms of the larger issue of the land development, the mayor is right. The developer, after the stipulation was reached to conclude the zoning appeal, there was well over a year of dormancy on the part of the developer, where the township really didn't have a role to play. The township was simply waiting for the developer to act on their zoning order. And once the plans were received from the developer, they were submitted to the County Planning Commission in a timely fashion. The County Planning Commission reviewed them actually pretty quickly under the circumstances of the pandemic. County Planning Commission returned comments. Township engineer also did a review letter, and that review letter from the township and the County Planning Commission have been submitted to the developer, and now we wait for the developer's response to those comments. So I think this is sort of another kind of cultural and sort of presentation issue that the mayor is alluding to. There was kind of a perception that the township government had some driving force or control or credit to be taken one way or the other in terms
direct
of
involvement in what in the plan, right?
Right. So similar to the land development process that went on with the Aronimink School, there are certain issues where the township has input and certain issues where the township has to just work with the developer. Now, we do have a role to play in negotiating and trying to encourage them to build the best development possible. And the County Planning Commission, made some sincere recommendations to them for how they could make a better development. And we hope that the developer, heeds those recommendations. So they've received the review letters, and we wait to hear back from them. In the meantime, we've had multiple in-person meetings and phone conversations with the developer. So those conversations are ongoing.
Thank you. Councilman Burke.
Yes, thanks, Laura. Vince, you just brought up the Aronimink School. Obviously, maybe there's an update on the land development, or it was just talking about the same area. I didn't know if we had an update on the lawsuit on land development.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to take it?
I was actually just going to say that at this point, the solicitor would probably be in a better position to give the update. So yeah.
So the interesting thing on that is Delaware County courts are essentially closed. Nothing is being scheduled as far as hearings go, although there's been a filing from the school district asking for a bond from the protestants. What that is, a provision of the MPC. The school district is saying that the appeal is frivolous. So they're asking the judge to make a determination if it's frivolous or not. And if the judge determines that to move forward with any of the litigation, they would have to post financial security in the form of a bond. The school district filed that we've supported the school district's filings for the most part, but we're not engaging on that one. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more old business for us? Okay, seeing none. Anyone have any new business? Councilman Siddiq? Go ahead.
It's not a new business, a question. If anybody can tell me that the park in between 63rd and Astra Ford, this is belongs to Upper Darby or Fairmount Park?
So it does belong to the city of Philadelphia through the Parks and Recreation Department. And my goal is in the next year or two to take control of it, because a lot of the park is right again across the street from our people on Glencoe and the other Church Lane, the 6600 block, I think it is. You know, like, let us take care of it. It's all good, right?
Very good, yeah. My district
What
is
do you
getting,
think we should do?
my district is getting bigger, that's fine. I love it.
And a little bit more responsibility, but I think, you know, I'd rather us be in charge of it instead of always, you know, 3 phone calls before Philadelphia Parks and Recreation comes in and mows the lawn. It's very, we're on the border with Philadelphia, right? So there's some things that we have to iron out, but.
And nice, right next to the Astra Ford, there's an empty lot there. They're having fruits and vegetables, some plants over there. That's also belongs to Upper Darby or in between?
I don't think it does, but I'll look into it. I don't.
Sure. That's all I want to know.
Okay.
So I can make a District 6 bigger and as well as Upper Darby too.
6 needs to be bigger. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have to hold us for a moment. I'm very sorry. Councilwoman Faralia has had her hand up for a long time and I failed to call on her, so I apologize. Go ahead, Councilwoman Faralia.
Okay, I have a couple questions. One is for CAO, Mr. Reggione, and the mayor about the St. Eugene's property. Where do we stand with that?
Yeah, so similar to the Drexel line, we're working through the St. Eugene's purchase. We had our engineer take a look at the project and do a review letter, and we've submitted that to the Archdiocese. So, you know, the original timeline was to try to close in July. And I would say that we're cautiously optimistic to be able to work out the terms on that schedule. Yeah, but we have not heard back on the letter, and actually the solicitor has been involved in that process, and he may be able to help us out as well.
Solicitor?
Oh, I think you have it correctly. We are, as you pointed out, the engineer bifurcated the 2 parcels within the St. Eugene's property. One of which is no secret, may be problematic from a geotechnical standpoint. We brought that to the attention of the Archdiocese. And in turn, too, the original appraisal was done by Coyle. They did a 2017, they did an appraisal of both parcels within the greater appraisal, and we are separating out, we're going back to that original appraisal to separate the portion of the property sidewalk and may have technical problems, and letting the Archdiocese know of that. So that was kind of a long-winded answer to say we're essentially still in negotiation based on a site survey and an engineering report that Mr. Galante did.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Faralia, have anything else?
Yes, I do. On Wild Avenue, did we ever decide what did the I think the last time you were gonna have the architect or talk to them about the Avenue project.
No, yeah, that's a great question. And it's an interesting situation that we found ourselves in. But there's about 4 houses. And Lisa, please feel free to interject. But they were built, 15 to 17 years ago, and the ground underneath these homes is eroding towards Darby Creek, somewhat near the something else. What is it called? The there. But we did send out a proposal for an engineering firm to look at it, and there's a letter that we have with Pannoni, who's the builder. Swedish Cabin. It's above the Swedish Cabin. These houses, 4 of them are just about to erode away. And Lisa brought it to our attention in January, I think it was. So
Yes.
We do have a letter to Pannoni. Vince is more informed about where it's going from there, but we have every intention of finding out, getting to the bottom of like why it's gotten to this point to begin with. Right.
Right. So the long and short of it is, as you know, we did the RFP for the geotech to secure the side of the hill. So we have those proposals, and we have a letter to the developer that says, hey, listen, if you don't come to the table and talk to us about how you're going to use your escrow money to fix this problem, we're going to proceed with the geotech and begin to charge you and litigate the matter. And so, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, no, and I've been working closely with the CAO on this. So they did not immediately respond to our letter, unfortunately. So in other municipalities, I understand this is not Pannoni Engineering, but is a relative of Pannoni Engineering and ancillarily related to several people at Pannoni Engineering. So I called my friends at Pannoni, and they told me that they would be in touch shortly. So that's all I have. And that this is a good reminder, because I texted my contact at Pannoni I work with in 2 other townships, and he sent me that text on Monday, and now it's Wednesday. I still haven't heard anything. That's a reminder for me to follow up now. So,
well, can you please keep me updated so I can keep the constituents there updated on what's going on?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fry. Sorry that I missed you earlier. Okay. Anyone else have new business? Okay, I just want to say that there is a car parade happening on this Saturday for 4th of July in the 4th District. I believe Councilwoman Blackwell is going to be a judge for the decorating of the cars and vehicles, and I'm hoping our mayor will also be able to be a judge. So hopefully I can get confirmation from both these fabulous women in our leadership to be judges on this car decorating. So yeah.
Thank you, President Wentz. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Mayor, are you going to be able to help out? It's from 8:30 to 9. It's the judging window in the morning. So just something to think about. Yeah. Okay. It's nice and early. It's nice and early.
I'm a morning person. I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. And then the parade is going to go, it's a car parade. So they're going to line up at school, and then they're going to cross over Westchester Pike, go to park on the Cedar, make a left on Marion, left on Carroll, cross over Westchester Pike again, make a left on Lathrop, and then a left on St. Lawrence. And then the parade. So if you don't live in District, come on down and watch the parade. If you live in the district, you want to be in the parade, come on down and join us at St. Lawrence at 6 in the morning. That'll be really awesome. And the Grand Marshal is going to be, sorry, the Grand Marshal, hold on one second.
Laura, I cannot hear anything. Understand.
I know,
It's
I
not
got it.
clear.
I just muted, I just muted Councilwoman Feralia. She was causing an echo, so I'm going to mute you too. So basically, the echo's gone now. So come at 8:30 St. Lawrence parking lot if you want to be in the parade itself. There'll be judging. The Grand Marshal is going to be former 4th District Councilman Mark Manfrey. Yep. So it's a very cool, and the Highland Park Kirkland Civic Association is working with Highland Park Fire Company and council as well to make this happen. So everyone come on down. You can watch a social distance, wear masks, and watch the car parade. So thank you. And thank you to Agnes Bernard for really helping to make this all happen. So does anyone else have any new business? Councilman Siddiq. Go ahead. You need to unmute yourself because I muted you.
As a good thing say about the 4th of July, some of our community people, they want to make a rally, like a motor rally. Do I need the permission for that one on 4th of July? How it works? Maybe 15, 20 car with the American flags is running around in 6th District area or Main Street on 69th Street, Market Street, that area like that. But everything on vehicle, not walking.
You want to talk to the CAO and mayor about it. I've already discussed with them about the 4th District one. You need to definitely touch base with them offline.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Anyone else have any new business for this meeting? Okay, seeing none. And so we are going to adjourn. It's 10:45 p.m. I thought we were going to get out earlier, but not so much. The 4th District Parade is this Saturday at 8:30 a.m. is when the cars are lining up, for clarification, because I know there was an echo. So, all right, great. Thank you. Councilwoman Billups, was that you were raising your hand? Go ahead. Oh, you're saying goodbye? Saying great. Thank you all. You rock. You did a great job today. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.